Just this one. Go right to left. Right to left. You know why, right? We'll figure it out. Like, this is where the map, this is where I was referring to. It's up here. Oh, sorry. There.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Joe, man, don't you know it's
Young lady, how are you?
don't you know it's
Very
fall?
well, how are you?
Still shorts weather for you, but you're that
What?
you're that New England fall. Still shorts weather for you?
No what?
Still shorts weather for you? But you're that
Shorts weather.
Yeah, it's fall.
Wearing shorts.
Is there long pants weather? When do you wear long
I
pants?
guess you're from New
We
England.
wear long pants almost all year long.
You're New England, so you're this is heat of summer for
I'm
y'all.
not New England, I'm Boston.
What's the difference?
Are
Is
you
it
kidding?
New England Patriots?
Where's
Boston
Cheryl?
Patriots, were they not the same team?
Our legislative liaison,
Boston Patriots, yeah.
Cheryl.
They changed the name when they didn't get all
Cheryl.
the people in
Who's
New England
Cheryl?
to root for them.
Just happened to have.
I could have sworn I saw her.
I'm going to try and put this up without turning it off.
I believe in you, Joe.
Call to order Minneola City Council. If we'll rise for a moment of silence, and Vice Mayor, if you'll lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review.
It's fine for me.
We have a couple housekeeping.
Yes.
A couple housekeepings. Can we move item 3
Yeah, I was going to do that. Was
and do project updates last?
Yeah, those are my two.
Okay.
You have a problem with that?
No, that's fine. And also, can we also table item number 2?
Yeah, I think she said that. Did you say table?
Table?
Yeah.
No,
3.
She
we
just
did
wanted
last
to-
night.
Okay. So we're tabling item 2 and moving item 3.
3.
Joe, anything?
Nope.
You good with that, Jennifer? Are you good?
You want to move updates toward the end so they can get through this?
Huh?
You want to move the updates towards the end for now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that was what her was.
okay, just clarify.
Okay, so I've got a motion on the table to move, can I get a motion to move projects and to move item 3 to after the consent agenda, please?
And
So
table
moved.
item 2.
And table item 2.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, public comment. This is the time to speak to the council. If you're on something that's not on the agenda, please come forth and speak. With that said, close it back. Consent agenda, can I get a motion for approval of consent agenda?
So moved?
I guess second.
I'll second.
First and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next one we're going to have is going to be the special exceptions for a convenience store with fuel services. Before we start, there's a lot of people tonight, and just out of respect, Brad has got a 3-minute clock. Is it working tonight? So we have a 3-minute clock. We do have a court reporter, full disclosure, so there's mics here. We're all mic'd up here. So everything will be reported by the court reporter. Anything else, Jennifer?
I would just add that if you come up to speak, if you can speak clearly into the mic and identify yourself and your address. And before we get started, because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, I'd like to swear in everyone who will be getting up to speak on any of the agenda items tonight. So if you would raise your right hand, say, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
Thank you very much.
If you change your mind and you choose not to speak, just because you swore in doesn't mean you have to speak. And if you choose that you want to speak and you didn't swear in, please be honest and let the attorney know so she can swear you in. So, thank you.
Before we start, just want to do some disclosures. Over the course of the last 60, 90 days, I had approximately 2 phone calls with Richard German regarding this project. No specifics were discussed. On October 1st, I met via Teams with Jonathan Hewells, Jennifer Koch, Catherine Smith, Nancy Ellswick regarding this project, at which time I explained how I did not agree with the right-in, right-out approach to the gas station. And on October 23rd, I received a message from Dan Edwards regarding this project. I responded stating I was not going to discuss this project outside city council chambers.
Okay, thank you. Pam, do you have any disclosures? Have you
Yes, I would like to also disclose that I have not spoken to any one of them because I chose not to.
Okay.
Sorry.
Ms. Flynn, have you spoke with any of them? Or
Yes, I spoke to resident Mike Smith, and he's been my only contact, and I've gotten about 57 emails that I did not address.
Okay. Joe?
I didn't talk to anybody.
Okay. We've had a couple meetings with the developer. Mark Johnson had those dates, and it was just general discussions, but those were in-person meetings. And I did speak with the attorney once after one of the meetings. Besides that,
Great, thank you.
Thank
So-
you.
thank you. Okay, sorry. Moving forward, Eric, if you may.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is item number 3 on your agenda. For the record, my name's Eric Roche with Inspire Placemaking here in my capacity as a contract planner to the city. This is the Hancock and 561A special exception. I'll go through the location of the project, run you through the background on the request, talk about the specifics of the request, and then wrap up with a summary. So the location of the project's on the northeast corner of 561A and North Hancock Road. It's southeast of the Del Webb community. And you'll note that North Hancock is under construction and will eventually connect up to County Road 455 as shown on the screen. So it's right at that intersection. Zooming in a little bit to the site, it's within the Hills of Minneola PUD. There's a self-storage project that's proposed immediately to the east of the property, and that was resubmitted for a site plan, I believe, yesterday. You've got the Del Webb community immediately to the north and into the west. I've got a couple of open space tracts within the Hills of Minneola PUD to the south, and it's next to the Minneola Ridge PUD. You see some of the labels there to the west, recently approved for multifamily, future townhomes, some single family, and a commerce park in that location. And then you can see on the bottom of the screen, it's close to the city's future fire station that's in design right now. As I mentioned, it's within the Hills of Minneola PUD. Site's about 3 acres in size. This site was originally zoned in 2006, and it was at that time known as Parcel K, which was designated for high density. It was amended in 2019. It was renamed Area 1 Pod 3, and it's currently referenced as a commercial tract within the PUD. So we're here tonight. The applicant submitted a request for a special exception for a convenience store with fuel sales. They're proposing a 4,852 square foot building, maximum height of 35 feet within the district. It's got access from North Hancock Road and proposed access from 561A. They're proposing a cross access to that self-storage site to the east as shown on the plan. And they're also proposing 26 parking spaces where 24 are required. So they are consistent with the city's parking requirements. These are some updated elevations that were submitted by the applicant team. I think they took some of the feedback from the residents, particularly on the design of the building when this went to P&Z, and resubmitted it to pitch the roof and incorporate some of the design features from the Del Webb community and some of the architecture in the area. So these are, I believe, new information since this was last in front of the city for a public hearing. And I'm sure the applicant will speak to some of those concessions when they come up for their presentation. You can see all the branding's been removed from the canopy, and then it's a pitch structure at this point. And then this is a look at the potential signage and dumpster enclosures to match the building and the facades as proposed. So as you know, the special exception criteria are outlined in section 106-2 of the city's code. And there's 6 specific criteria. The first is traffic generation and access. The proposed use shall not adversely impact adjoining properties or public safety. Number 2 is off-street parking, loading, and service areas shall be provided per code and essentially consistent with what else is found in the district. Number 3 is yard screening, buffering, and landscaping shall be consistent with the character of the district. Number 4 is the size, location, and number of special exception uses shall be limited to preserve the overall character. Number 5 is architecture and signage shall be consistent with the general provisions of the zoning district. And then number 6, public facilities, public services must be available to serve the development. So we went through the criteria. The applicant did submit a traffic impact analysis and resolved all of our concerns from our traffic subconsultant. And Lake County indicated that there may be some off-site improvements required associated with this request. Number 2, off-street parking and loading. All of the facilities that are on the site proposed are per code, so the parking exceeds the code minimum. They may need to reconfigure a couple of the spaces near the dumpster to prevent conflicts, but they have enough space to relocate those on site. Yard screening, buffering, and landscaping. Code's going to require a perimeter buffer, and they've provided a 30-foot buffer adjacent to the Del Webb stormwater pond. And they are providing the required 20-foot perimeter buffer per code. Number 4, the size, location, and number of special exception uses. There are some specifics for fuel serving establishments in the code. They have to be located on a collector or RTO road, which this is. And they also have to meet a minimum size criteria of 1 acre, which this does. So they are consistent with that. And then number 5, architecture and signage. I mentioned they submitted some revised architectural elevations, and I'm sure the applicant will speak to that. But we will do a full review at the site plan stage, but they haven't requested any variances from code on those elevations. And then finally, in terms of public services, we've not received any objections from Public Works regarding the ability to serve the development with water or sewer. We had a couple remaining staff comments. One was just an informational comment that we'll do a full architectural review. We understand that the elevations are a bit conceptual when we get to the special exception phase, and once we get to the site plan, we're going to have a full set of architectural drawings, which will just put the applicant on notice. If it gets to that point, we'll certainly be performing that review. And then Lake County had an informational comment about off-site road improvements, such as a left turn lane on 561A may be required. And then we were at P&Z on September 8th, and there was a recommendation from P&Z to deny. There was robust discussion at that meeting. Judging by the number of folks in attendance tonight, I'm sure you're going to hear some of the concerns from the community that we heard at the P&Z meeting. But the P&Z discussed the project, and when they made their motion to recommend denial, I think they were really concerned with traffic and the conditions on 561A. They were concerned with the timing of development in terms of improvements to the area. They were concerned with wellhead protection. There were some environmental concerns mentioned, access to the site, and finally, I think they wrapped up their discussion just saying they would prefer a different location for this use rather than this site. So that's the kind of summary from P&Z. Certainly welcome any comments from the applicant. I believe there are some additional concessions that they were prepared to make this evening. But with that, I'll conclude my presentation and stand for any questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, if the applicant would like to speak.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Jonathan Hewells with the Lowndes Law Firm, 215 North Eola Drive, Orlando, 32801. Also in attendance with me this evening are members of our project team, including Derek Ramsberg with Kimley Horn Associates, who's our project engineer. We have Sean Flynn with Aptum Engineering, who is the environmental professional consultant that's working on the team. And we also have our traffic engineer, Charlotte Davidson, with the TMC. And as well as the representative from the developer, WMG, Catherine Smith. My plan tonight is to quickly walk through as fast as I can a presentation to supplement some of the information that Eric Roche has just provided you and update you on our efforts since the Planning Commission meeting, both in outreach to the community and making some modifications to the plan, and then being available, myself and the applicant team, to answer any questions you might have afterwards. So let me run through this. Just because it's a point that I think is important, is that this, and as was demonstrated by Mr. Roche's presentation itself, is that this area of the city is in transition. It has properties that, including this one, that are entitled for future development and are just starting that process through the paper entitlements that are required to be approved by this council, and then actual development. But this intersection and this corridors, both Hancock and 561A, are going to look very different in the future than they do now. Of note is that, of course, Hancock Road is going to be opened in the near future from 455 to the north all the way down to the Turnpike and beyond, and it's going to be a pretty major transportation corridor, not only in the city, but for Lake County and the residents of Lake County, and for the Del Webb community, and for the new subdivision that's being built just north of there. And that's highlighted, that corridor is highlighted here on this slide before you, where it extends about a mile approximately north of the Del Webb community before it connects to 455. This illustration highlights the evacuation routes that are in this area of the city and county. The subject property is outlined in red right here, and it is actually on 561A, which has been designated as a evacuation route. The purpose of this illustration is to highlight that there are no other like uses of what's being proposed, the gas station with convenience, in the vicinity. The nearest one, and this will also be highlighted in the next slide, is actually located south of the Turnpike interchange on 561A down here, and that's 3.9 miles away from the property by way of travel. The next nearest is here in the town of Howey, and that's 4 miles, and then all the other existing gas stations that are highlighted here on this map are farther in driving miles to get to. So really, there is a need for this use in this area, especially in light that the property is along an evacuation route. To that point, and I'll talk about it more later in the presentation, there's a couple of conditions that are being proposed in the resolution that further the importance of this location and its operation, including the need for the business to stay open and the provision of an on-site generator to make sure it can stay open if there was a power loss. This is a similar slide, but just simply highlights those various routes that would be taken to get to those existing gas stations in the vicinity. As I said before, the nearest being 3.9 miles away, and all others being farther away. This is the site plan that Mr. Roche overviewed with you, so I won't spend a lot of time on it other than just to highlight that it is proposed gas station with a convenience store. It does have 6 fuel dispensers with the capability of having 12 fueling stations, all under canopy. And the access points, as he highlighted, would be, it's being proposed with a full access off 561A and a right-in, right-out access off of Hancock Road. Of course, all of that would be subject to the next step in the development process if this special exception were to be approved tonight, which would be the major site plan, which is the engineered drawings that take this plan and actually engineer it. It would go through a more rigorous review by your staff, and it also would have Lake County's input in terms of the access and off-site improvements, which leads me to the next slide. This is also illustrating the site plan, although it's overlaid over an aerial map. The purpose of this exhibit is to just show what the off-site improvements that we believe are going to be required by the Lake County based on our consultations with staff at the county. That would include both a left turn westbound into the full access as well as an eastbound right turn lane. Also the purpose of this exhibit is we heard during some comments during the Planning Commission public hearing that there was concern that there wasn't adequate right-of-way on 561A to allow for the construction of these turn lanes and the modification of the existing roadway to accommodate them. We've looked at this and we've determined there is adequate right-of-way. No additional right-of-way would need to be required either from this property or any of the other properties along the right-of-way that would need to be modified. And so we're confident that these improvements can be made, and they can be made within the existing right-of-way. During the community meeting we held last month, which was well attended and it was a productive dialogue, we heard a lot of comments about concerns involving U-turn movements at the Del Webb intersection on Hancock Road. And there was a lot of, a majority of comments had concern over this U-turn movement and with a request to restrict that access to a right-in only. We took it back afterwards, we promised to, and looked at it internally with the team, including everyone that's here tonight, and we determined that the project would remain proposed as a right-in, right-out. And we came to that determination by several factors, one of which is just the impediment to the traffic circulation in the project that would be caused by restricting that right-out northbound on Hancock Road turning movement. And also, we explored the concern expressed about that U-turn movement. We looked at it, and the transportation engineers provided their input that it's going to be really a de minimis turn lane movement, based in part because of just the additional length that a car would have to travel, the additional U-turn movement it would have to make to actually go southbound on Hancock Road. That's illustrated here in red, where it would have to come out, make a right, move up to that intersection, make a stop, make a U-turn, and come all the way down. That's about 3 times the distance of simply coming out of this proposed full access and making the right westbound on 561 and getting into that existing turn lane to make the southbound turn lane movement. We think if it's de minimis because anyone that makes that U-turn movement at the Del Webb intersection would really be doing it in error, probably would never do it again. And based on the trip distribution shown in the transportation study that's been submitted, we don't think that's going to be more of a rare occurrence than anything else. Another comment we heard at, I think, the last city council member meeting where this was continued was some concern about the ability for trucks servicing or entering into the property being able to make a safe turn movement. This is the auto turn analysis that had to be included with the application that was submitted and reviewed by staff that highlights in red those turning movements, and it indicates that all truck turn movements can be made in a safe and adequate manner and do not spill out onto any lanes of travel. And we believe, this adequately addresses that comment. And I would just say if at major site plan review, when we're talking about an engineered site plan, that will be re-reviewed and reconfirmed as part of that process. Here are the elevations that were already part of Mr. Rosh's presentation, and I would just say these were born out of comments received at the Planning Commission. We went through several iterations internally to try to address comments that we heard, and we tried to truly match what we see as architecture of the Del Webb community. It's resulted in a proposed architectural elevations that are far beyond what the typical gas station would be required to be made, but we want to be good neighbors. We want to match with the aesthetics of Del Webb, and so this is what is being proposed. It would be made a exhibit to the resolution for the special exception, and the project, when it came forward on a major site plan, would have to be consistent with these elevations. There wouldn't be any bait and switch involved by showing pretty pictures now and not delivering later. It also includes a limited signage package, and once again, that signage package would control. There wouldn't be anything beyond the signage that's shown on these architectural elevations, and that just includes some limited wall signage on the buildings, as shown here. One wall sign shown there on the southern aspect. And then, as was already reviewed, the dumpster enclosures and the limited monument signs. No pole signs, would just be ground signs shown in the design presented here. And then here's the canopies. There are conditions in the resolution that are specific, and this meets those conditions, that there won't be any branding or additional signage than the lone canopy sign facing 561A, shown here, and that all of the canopy supports are going to be cladded with either, a natural stone or a similar type material to what the building would be. And of course, there's a pitched roof shown here that would match the color scheme of the principal building. These are a couple of line of sight exhibits that we brought with us to the community meeting we held last month. Would like to review with you briefly. This shows a line of sight from the east side of the property, looking northwest off of 561A. Here's another one across the intersection on the southwest corner and looking northeast, designated by this red arrow here. And here's another viewpoint from immediately north of that access point on Hancock Road, so looking southeast. Oh, I'm sorry, right here. And then looking farther from Hancock Road, farther south, just to orient you, the arrows here, but this would be the existing Minneola, Del Webb stormwater pond, the dry pond that's located to the north. And this really illustrates how much the property will be terraced from that existing pond. The property will have to be completely regraded, so it's at grade with the existing rights-of-way. And in fact, in that rear property boundary, or where at least the development footprint ends, there will be a series of retaining walls to step down quickly to that lower elevation. We believe that will provide an additional buffer to some of the neighbors. We also heard at Planning Commission some concerns about potential wellhead protections, and that was the first we had heard of that, so we investigated it after the meeting. And in fact, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection does have a wellhead protection area designation, although that only attaches to what are deemed public potable water wells for community use, which would not include private residential wells. And that wellhead protection area is set at a 500-foot radius around one of those public potable wells. We went ahead, even though it would not apply to the wells in the vicinity of the property, which are private wells, we went ahead and utilized the Florida Department of Health's GIS database to locate wells in the vicinity. Those are indicated here in blue. And one additional well that was pointed out as a potential well at the Planning Commission, we included just out of abundance of caution. And out of additional abundance of caution, we went ahead and put that 500-foot radius around each of those wells. And while this regulation would not apply because these aren't public potable wells, it would still be met, meaning the underground storage tanks, which would not be allowed in that setback, can be located on the property outside of it. And so we think that adequately addresses the concerns that were expressed at the Planning Commission. And more and above, there was some concern about the use generally and about how tanks always leak. And I think that's a general proposition that's not true in terms of the modern gas station use, which involves new underground storage tanks that are sophisticated and heavily regulated by both the federal government through the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the state through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Some of these regulations that are applied as fail-safes are that the installation of these types of uses can only be done by specialized contractors, and that most importantly probably is that the tanks, the piping, and the secondary containment are all double-walled, which means there's a redundancy and safety involved with these systems, and that each of the systems must have leak sensors and alarms that are continuously monitored. And then there's also a frequent inspection schedule that involves both inspections when at the time of initial installation or at times of repair, and also visual inspections that must be conducted monthly of the systems. And then every 6 months, the piping and dispenser sumps that use electronic release detection must be inspected and tested. Annually, piping and that's in contact with the soil and secondary containment and line leak detectors must be inspected and tested. And then every 3 years, there's below grade inspections of the piping and dispenser sumps and spill containment systems. In terms of exceedance of minimum standards, this operator has a standard operating procedure that requires the minimums to be exceeded. This includes that they have a standing operating procedure that they will investigate all suspected releases within 4 hours, and oftentimes, if there's a repair needed, that's completed within 4 hours. This is in comparison to the minimum standard set by Florida law, which is 14 days. The operator also contracts with Fuel Quest, which is a third party that remotely monitors all gas tank systems and monitoring alarms. This is 24 hours a day, 7 days service, 365 days a year. This is in addition to the monitoring systems that would be located at the facility, at the convenience store. This is not required by law. This is just their procedures. The operator also contracts with another servicer to conduct their monthly visual inspections. These are experts. This is over and above what Florida law requires, which is that store operators could actually conduct these inspections with little or no training. The operator has sensors installed in dispenser liners, STP pumps, and tank interstitials for continuous monitoring. This isn't required by Florida law, and their overspill containments are double-walled, that redundancy and safety for both the dispenser sumps and tank fill ports, whereas Florida law would only require a single barrier. And this operator would install shutoff valve over the drop tubes to prevent overfill protection, and this is also not required by law. The request before you is not a precedent. In fact, all gas stations that are operating in the city that have been approved under the city's current code has gone through a similar process, in that this use is not allowed by right. It requires a special exception to be reviewed and approved by this council. And in fact, most recently in September of this year, this council considered another gas station and which similar to this proposed use, came forward with a staff recommendation for approval and found that it met the requirements and approved it. In terms of conditions and criteria, I want to work through this quickly because there's been some changes since Planning Commission addressed some of the comments and concerns. Of course, these are all conditions that would be found in the resolution and would be applied to the project moving forward. First and foremost is that major site plan review will be required. That's the engineering, that's the more thorough analysis of the site plan, and that's where the access points are definitively established and the off-site improvements are definitively established. The access on 561A will be required. We've heard some concerns that it might be a bait and switch and that it would only operate with an access point on Hancock Road. The resolution would make clear that there would need to be an access point on 561A. The hours of operation, after hearing feedback from the community expressed both at the Planning Commission and at the community meeting, there was a change that this facility would not be operating 24 hours, 7 days a week. Instead, it would be closed down from at 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. daily, meaning that it would open at 5 a.m., it would close at 2 a.m., and it wouldn't operate between those hours. As to the points of being located on a evacuation route, the operator must use commercially reasonable efforts to remain open during natural disasters, and if they have to close, they have to reopen as soon as possible thereafter. And in furtherance of that requirement, the convenience store and fuel station would be armed with an on-site generator with enough fuel capacity to run the store for up to 3 days without having to be refilled. Another change made based on comments from the community meeting was a restriction on the use of any speakers or amplified sound in connection with video boards if they're utilized at the fuel dispensers to make sure that those aren't producing any noise from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. daily. In terms of security, there's a requirement in the resolution to have that this store would be serviced by color surveillance cameras with 30-day recording storage capabilities that would have to cover inside, outside, and at least 95% of the property. In terms of lighting, there's a requirement that all lighting must be dark sky lighting. There's a restriction that no merchandise shall be displayed outside the building except propane tanks, which have to be out there pursuant to federal law. No vending machines will be allowed outside. That would not include, obviously, the fuel dispensers and the aforesaid propane cylinders. Air pumps, if offered, must be free of charge, and that would require approval by the city as part of the major site plan review. No vacuums would be required or be allowed, and there wouldn't be any additional advertising permitted other than what was shown on those architectural elevations, meaning that there's not going to be additional branding and there's not going to be any additional advertising under the canopy or at the pumps. So just to briefly review, and we concur with the staff findings that have been presented to you, that the criteria in the Land Development Code Section 106-2 have been met in terms of all the outlying criteria with traffic generation and access. As you heard, the traffic impact analysis has been reviewed and accepted by staff. We're committing to the access requirements established in resolution on terms of access both from Hancock and County Road 561A. The yard screening and buffering and landscape requirements have been met, as was already presented to you through the buffers both on-site and the buffers off-site. And as we have already discussed, the size and location, number of special exception uses, this is in a fuel desert, so to speak, and that the nearest gas station is 4 miles away. Architectural signage is going to be consistent with what's going to be an exhibit in the resolution that's already been presented to you, and that the last criteria, public service, there was no objections from the city's Public Works Department on the ability to serve the development. So what do those staff findings mean? Well, what they are is competent substantial evidence in support of approval of this special exception request. The Florida case law is very clear that those in and of themselves can act as competent special evidence to support approval. Here is a couple of summaries of some Florida cases that have made that findings. The Village of Palmetto Bay and Palmer Trinity Private School was a special exception case for a school expansion. And the case, the court found there that there's no, and I'm quoting here, there's no dispute that the petitioner met its burden of demonstrating compliance with the standards imposed by the Miami-Dade County zoning code for securing a special exception. Prior to the public hearing on petitioner's special exception request, Palmetto Bay's professional staff reviewed the request for compliance and specifically recommended the request for a special exception to expand the school onto parcel B and increase the student enrollment from 600 to 1150. The take home here is that the recommendation came through in a 39-page review of all applicable criteria and constitutes competent substantial evidence establishing that the request serves public interest. A similar finding was set forth in the city of Hialeah Gardens, which confirmed that the testimony of professional staff, when based on professional experiences and personal observations, as well as information contained in an application, site plan, and traffic study, constitutes competent substantial evidence. There's two additional cases there that set forth, or three, that set forth a similar finding, effectively that staff recommendations is probative and can support an approval. In turn, opposition must be also based on competent substantial evidence in order to be taken into consideration by you in making your decision. In Pollard v. Palm County, the court found that the board should be based their determination upon facts which they find to have been established instead of upon the wishes of persons who appear for or against the granting of the application. The objections of a large number of residents of the affected neighborhood are not a sound basis for the denial of a permit. And Flowers Baking Company versus City of Melbourne, here, it's a 50 CA case here in Central Florida. The highlighted language, the objections of local residents do not, to the conditional use permit based on fears, do not constitute such substantial competent evidence. And finally, in another 50 CA case, Colonial Apartments LP, the court found that the opinions of neighbors themselves are insufficient to support a denial of a proposed development. So with that, we believe that staff findings in conjunction with the conditions and requirements in the resolution support approval of this project. We know, obviously, there's major site plan review that would need to undergo, and you all will, that would come before you in the future. But we would ask you to support the staff recommendation and approve this special exception. And myself and the rest of the project team are here to answer any of your questions. I would just ask for an opportunity to address any public comments once given, if need be.
Okay.
Just have a quick question. Have you ever been to Hialeah Gardens before?
I grew up in South Florida, so I have.
So you would say that the planning and zoning of Hialeah, you would think that's a gold standard to bring up for case law. Mind you, I was born in Hialeah, so I know a lot about Hialeah.
I'm Broward County, born and raised, so love it up here, by the way. So
Yeah, so do I. That's why I moved up here, to get away from that. But just future reference, citing case law for Hialeah Gardens is probably not prudent in an area where we're trying to avoid becoming Hialeah or Hialeah Gardens.
And that way, Commissioner, I understand your comments. It wasn't for the basis to try to suggest that this area should become like Hialeah. It's just to establish what the standards of review are for you at City Council. I mean, obviously, we have a court reporter here. I did not order it, but it is here, and so want to get on the record what that standard of review is.
Sure.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, does anybody from council have any questions at this time?
No questions at the moment, no.
Go anything? I do have one, but it's kind of for Mark, and out of due respect to you and the rest of the folks here. Mark, I'm going to ask you a question. Can you quickly, evacuation routes, FDOT evacuation routes, is 561A1, because when I was looking, it was this 27. 561A might be a CIS road or a secondary road for evacuation, but then technically all roads are evacuation. So can you just confirm that, or do you know?
It is not a state route, but it is a local route from people in that area would have to access to be able to get to 27.
Well, technically, with that thought, the street I live on is an evacuation route getting to
Right,
Highway
right.
27.
Right, but it is not a state
It's not a
evacuation
State
route.
Route 27. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was kind of confusing on that, so. Somebody speak on the traffic piece on this, the evacuation route, why 561A is listed as an evacuation route? I'm asking someone from,
Mayor,
yes.
while they're looking, gathering their information, do you mind if I just say a couple of words
Sure,
about the
go
decorum?
ahead.
Thank you, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Everyone, thank you all for being here. We all appreciate your attendance. As the mayor said earlier, you're all going to have the opportunity to speak tonight. We're going to ask you to limit that to 3 minutes. If the person in front of you has already said something that you agree with, you can simply state that. You don't have to repeat everything. Please, while people are speaking, please don't boo or applaud or make comments under your breath. It's very hard for the city council to hear what's happening, and we need to respect our speakers. So please be mindful of that. And we understand that you all have strong feelings on these topics, but we just ask for your decorum here tonight, and we're all here to make Minneola great. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we still looking?
While he's looking, I'd just like to make a comment. Maybe, I don't know if we should wait for audience to be heard, but honestly, no, I'm going to make my comment now. You know, I see that there is an issue with the traffic, the concerns on traffic. And I believe he made a very good point that there is another gas station 4 miles away from that. That being the case, can you just imagine how many people are going to be using that gas station?
So,
And that definitely brings a concern to me. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. And I guess I'll sit back and listen to everyone else. Thank you.
Mark, are you looking? You definitely have the answer.
I'm looking even for the county, and I don't see that it's a county.
You didn't see it, when I looked at Lake County and FDOT, I didn't see that as an I saw Highway 27 as an evacuation route, but I did not see 561A. But I'm just the mayor on Google, which could be dangerous.
ChatGPT.
I do even use, I'm too old for ChatGPT. That's for you younger folks. At this point in time, while y'all are looking that up, when you find the answer, can you please let us know, just to keep the evening moving? If there's anybody in the audience who wants to speak at this time, please come forth. Please remember you're on recording, and it is a quasi-judicial, so please, if you have an opinion, please state the facts around it, or if you have a cite, please feel free to cite anything that you need. Or any handouts, please bring those in. We love those. Thank you.
Packets for each of you
Okay, thank you.
and for the applicant. I've requested to be an intervener, which means the 3 minutes does not apply. I put the request in over 2 weeks ago, over 2 weeks ago. That's for you, Mark. Just go ahead and hand all these out.
It's directly impacted. You want to speak on behalf of the intervener, please, Jennifer?
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would. I know, I did get the request, Clinton, and I passed it on, so.
Yeah,
Oh,
Scott, I sent it to Scott and city manager.
Yeah,
and
I
also
think I got
city
copied on it, but I did see the request.
And Scott didn't have an issue with it, correct?
You're welcome to go more than 3 minutes, if that's what you're looking for. then-
Well, no, I'm acting as an intervener. I'm going to present evidence. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, Ernie. I'm going to address a couple of things in rebuttal from what you just previously heard. There's a lot of omissions, a lot of skewed things. The governing act for this hearing is 106-2. There's no question about it. Everybody's agreed that that's the governing standard. However, we've had 2 slides up that did not present 106-2. If you recall, at the city council meeting 2 council meetings ago, I requested, because they were requesting to postponement for the first, and then the continuance was the second one. During the continuation, I asked the city attorney to please send out, he gave it to the city clerk, who I requested 106-2, and I feel that I need for the record now to put 106-2 fully on the record so that everybody is in accordance with it. I did not come with it prepared because it was the governing doctrine, and I didn't think anybody would be changing it to their own words. But this is the political life we live in these days. So I'm going to go ahead and read 106.2, if you don't mind. And if you give me a second, I just have to pull it up, because again, I just was not prepared to bring it, but I do have the document that was emailed to the city clerk, and the city clerk sent to me. So the governing standards for this are 106-2A. Generally, a special exception is a use that would not be appropriate without restriction, but which is controlled as to a number, area, location, or relation to the surrounding area. I'll get back to that one later. It would promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. I'll get to that one later. Such use may be permitted in a zoning district as a special exception only if identified as such in this land development code. Subchapter E, general requirements and conditions. 1, conditions and safeguards. In granting any special exception, the City Council may prescribe appropriate conditions and safeguards to ensure compliance with the requirements of this chapter and the land development code in general. Such conditions may include time limits for the initiation of the special exception use, specific minimum or maximum limits to regular code requirements, or any other reasonably related to the requirements and criteria of this chapter. It's irrelevant to me, but it's one of the conditions. Number 2, review criteria. When reviewing an application for a special exception, the City Council shall consider the following requirements as criteria. This is where it's very important, but not limited to. So section 106-2, subsection E2A, traffic generation and access for the proposed use shall not adversely impact adjoining properties and the general public safety. So we'll get to that because this are impacting surrounding areas. Off-street parking, loading, and service areas shall be provided and located. There is no adverse impact on adjoining properties beyond the generally experienced in the district. Required yard, screening, or buffering and landscaping shall be consistent with the district in general with the specific needs of the abutting land uses. Abutting land uses, that's key. On subsection E2D, size, location, or number of special exception uses in the area shall be limited to so as to maintain the overall character of the district as intended by this land development code. We'll get into architectural signage, that's E. Treatments shall comply with the general provisions applicable to permitted use in the district to the greater extent possible and be sensitive to surrounding development. As you can see how this would not fit on one slide. I'm almost done, 2 more paragraphs. F, the availability of utility services such as water, sewer, and solid waste and recreation facilities. And finally, F, transfer or abandonment of special exceptions run with the property. A special exception use that is not initiated within 1 year of being granted shall be established without a new public hearing in accordance with the requirements of this chapter. It's very important that I get this on the record. Thank you for giving me the consideration. I also want to address some rebuttals that were presented to clarify some additional information, addressing the character of the area. I noticed conveniently they pretty much left off the entire east end coming from the gas station. That is all, and I'm going to educate a lot of you here, a local services boundary area, which I know you're all very familiar with up here. which is still in effect the previous local services boundary area. The new one does not come into effect yet, which means the local services boundary area, these are 5 and 10 acre subdivides, some of them are higher, 20, all of them on private wells and private septic. They cannot be forced to be annexed to any municipality. This, by the way, was signed by Minneola, Mount Verde, Claremont, Lake County, and I believe Pine Lock, which is the Bella Colina district. I don't think I left anyone else out there. They cannot be annexed. No one in the LSBA can be annexed. They cannot be forced to connect to any municipal services, which means there's no reason that there's going to be hooking up to water or sewage. And they must retain an extremely low density, which is currently 1 dwelling per 5 acres. That is the existing LSBA that's in effect. The new LSBA, the only change on that was at Minneola's request, ironically, and that was to change the density from, if I recall correctly, for 1 dwelling per acre as opposed to 5. So that being said, every property that is to the east of that gas station and slightly to the north and to the south, all the way buttoned up to the turnpike, Triple E Road, all that is all the low density LSBA services, all on private wells. I did find it very ironic that the first line of sight picture that they presented was taken. You saw the turnpike sign right there. That's how I was able to quickly identify it. That is exactly where a well pump is, right off of 561A. In their other picture where they identified the nearest well was wrong. I've walked the property myself. I talked to the landowner, and I know exactly what motor size and everything that well pump is. If you were interested, it's like a Datsun 270 or something. It's a very high-end pump because he does farming on his property and he has livestock. And it's right on 561A, not set back 40, 50 feet. However, even if it was the restriction of the 500 feet, it is 750 feet from the proposed edge of the property, center of the property. I measured it. I also noticed in the picture, conveniently, when they sent you all the wells, my street wasn't there. My street is the nearest well to that gas station on my street is 1,000 feet. They conveniently showed you, again, this is the political life we live in. It's got to be truth. The entire street that I live on, not one well shown. None of the wells on my neighbors, none of the wells going down Sugarloaf Mountain Road, none of the wells going down 561A. None of that was on that picture. They showed a couple of sparse wells to the south, which immediately leads you into that subdivision, the hills. I want to put on the record, I've lived in this area since 1992. I've lived in the house for over 25 years, and I've never once thought to myself, damn, I wish there was a gas station near here. Not once. And I'm totally convenient with going to Mount Verde's gas station, and I have been. And the last time I was there was a week ago Saturday, and I put 40 gallons of gas in because I have livestock and so forth, and I need it. So I appreciate you giving me the consideration for that, but I'd like to rebut that. I also want to take up something that, just to get it on the record, Mayor, I'm going to ask you and the council, just for the record, and if I could respectfully ask whether any council members have had prior meetings or communications with the applicant or their representatives regarding Resolution 2025-17 outside this hearing and outside any city council meetings or municipal meetings, other than what you've disclosed earlier prior to this on the record.
Not that I did talk to an applicant right before the meeting, a landowner right before the meeting. That would be it, but no, nothing else from me.
Not on this project.
Yeah, I've already
Not besides
disclosed
what
it.
I previously disclosed.
Respectfully, I'd like to record the record to reflect that the concerns so that the public transparency and due processes are preserved. And then, Mayor, before I proceed with my presentation, I'd also like to address a procedural matter for the record. I personally observed a meeting that appeared to include you and one of the other council members, the applicants, and the development team earlier this month. I'm not making any accusations. I simply ask that any such meeting or communication be disclosed or on the record for transparency, consistent with the Florida Sunshine and quasi-judicial ex parte disclosure requirements.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but.
Okay, I understand, and I'd like to reflect that I have observed such a meeting and I have made this disclosure request to preserve public confidence in the process. And for the record, I also want to note that I submitted one public record request and a follow-up to the city clerk, carbon copy to the city attorney, and Mark Johnson, the city manager, requesting any meeting between the applicant, city officials, and staff between the dates of September 1st and October 22nd, 2025. Specifically, I requested materials from the meeting that took place immediately before the October 21 city council meeting, which appeared to be attended by the mayor, a council member, the applicant, and their representatives. Those requests included any audio or video recordings, transcripts, written or electronic notes, or staff summaries connected with those meetings, as well as any emails, texts, or correspondence summarizing them. As of today, I've received only a partial fulfillment, the unredacted minutes from the raw recordings from the October 7th and October 21st council meetings. That is all I've received, and it's been 2 weeks, just about 2 weeks. Okay, no comment? Great. I'm going to go ahead and proceed with my presentation. Mayor
just
and council, I thank you for the
Sorry,
opportunity.
for
Yes.
the record, can you disclose which council member you said? Because you said,
Didn't,
but can you disclose that?
not at this time.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Clinton Pownell. As per what your request, I reside at 14205 Hunters Trace Lane, Claremont 34715. I live within the affected area. I'm here as an intervener, presenting factual evidence already contained in the public record regarding environmental sensitivity, groundwater risk, public safety, and statutory consistency related to Resolution 2025-17. All evidence I'm presenting tonight is included in identical packets provided to the city attorney, council, and the applicant to ensure fairness. As I stated, the governing law under Section 106-2 of the city's Land Use Development Code, a special exception can only be approved if every required review criterion is satisfied. Even one criterion is not met, the city council is legally obligated to deny the request. Key criteria tonight are public safety, compatibility with the surrounding areas, adequacy of utilities, and emergency response. Environmental and groundwater protection. This is pertaining to Chapter 106-2, Section 106-2, subsections E to F. Let's begin with the Environmental and Groundwater Protection Standard, and this is where the strongest evidence exists. I would like to present Exhibit A, which you all have. This is an email from who is our Commissioner Sean Parks, but it is not in his capacity as commissioner that he sent this to me. It is his capacity as an expert on the environment. I also have Exhibit, F, which gives a biography of Commissioner Parks. If anybody has any questions about his experience and his knowledge of the aquifer, the environment, I will just lead this off with that he has a Master's of Science in Environmental Science and Planning from the University of South Florida, and he has a Bachelor of Science in Environment Science from Florida State University. And he was also a former planning consultant and advisor to municipality, state agencies on aquifer recharge, wellhead protection, and land use compatibility. The email correspondence dated October 25th was provided by Mr. Parks in his capacity as professional environmental planner, offering consulting advice through his business, not as an official communication from the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. His opinions were expressed independently and not on behalf of the county. Mr. Parks is an environmental planner and a former Lake County Water Authority board member, identified this property as part of a high recharge zone in the Florida aquifer system. He noted that the homes in the surrounding area, such as myself, rely heavily on private wells and septic, meaning that any underground fuel leak could quickly contaminate residential drinking water. And this site sits directly above the sensitive aquifer recharge area that supplies local drinking water. I'd like to now present Exhibit B. This is from the the county engineer. You all have it. Mr. Earhart confirms that soils are hydrological group A. This is the most permeable classification. I can tell you that just from living there all these years. You plant something, the water goes right through it. And there's no confining layer, which is extremely important. The confining layer is what protects the aquifer. He stated the groundwater recharge rate is approximately 12 inches per year flowing toward nearby lakes and into Lake Apopka Basin Overlay District, a designated protection zone. Any spill or release here would infiltrate directly into the aquifer and migrate towards private wells and lakes. Exhibit C. I brought this up at the Planning and Zoning, and this is the US EPA underground storage, UST, data from March of 2024. In it, the EPA shows that 575,000 confirmed fuel leaks nationwide, with 56,000, again, 56000, 56,000 still awaiting cleanup. Modern containment systems are not foolproof. Corrosion, ground movement, and any system faults are persistent to cause release. My concern is there's going to be 56,001, and I'm going to be poisoned by my own well. Even double-wall fuel systems fail regularly in high recharge zone. Any leak here could create a permanent contamination. Together with Exhibits A, B, and C, this shows that the parcel's environmental conditions make it one of the most vulnerable places for for a fuel facility. Contamination would move directly through the sand into the aquifer and into the residential wells. Mayor and Council, Exhibit G is the Lake County Comprehensive Plan conservation element. I would like to address another rebuttal, if I may. I was going to use it for this time.
So hold on one second.
Sure.
Did we skip D, E, and F?
I'm sorry, I think I skipped the page.
F is Sean's resume.
Okay, I was looking, okay. You did, my apologies.
Okay.
It was the resume. I was expecting F was part of F.1,
Fine,
so
I
my
got you.
bad. So I just want to make sure it's fire prevention. I was trying to keep up, so.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and.
That's fine, so we're on G. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry
I
about
pulled
that.
this up. So I wanted to clarify, because the private wells are not included by EPA protection. But you can't tell me that in the United States in 2025, private wells aren't protected by something. Well, they are. They are protected by state law. So I don't need the federal government to tell me to protect my laws. I have it here right in my state. Better yet, it's protected by Lake County. So the Lake County Comprehensive Plan, policies 7-121.1, 7-1.4.2, and 7-1.5.1. Generally, restrict hazardous uses in recharge zones to protect the Florida aquifer. Require special exceptions or conditional use permits with environmental review. Well, we're here for that. Can require hydrologic assessments, especially near wells or karst features. If a private well is within a vulnerable zone, the city or county may deny condition of a fuel station permit based on potential groundwater contamination. They can require storm treatment, spill contaminant, and distance setbacks. So for Exhibit G, continuing with the Lake County Comprehensive Plan conservation element, policies 7-1.2.1, 7-1.4.2, and 7-1.5.1, there are county-adopted environmental protection standards that apply within Lake Apopka Basin overlay and high recharge areas, including this site. Together, these policies require that hazardous or fuel-related uses in high recharge zones be prohibited unless central water and sewer are available and redundant contaminant fully prevents contamination. Redundant containment fully prevents contamination. Because this parcel lacks those utilities, the proposed fuel use is inconsistent with the adopted comprehensive plan under Florida statutes 163.3194(1A), which requires that all developments conform to the plan. I'm introducing the Lake County Comprehensive Plan policies by referencing Exhibit G, which is publicly available on Lake County's website. This proposal cannot meet the city's land development code or the county's comprehensive plan, and any consistency with both required by state law. Now we'll get to your part there, Mayor. Traffic and public safety. Fuel tanker deliveries on County Road 561A would conflict with school buses, cyclists, and residents. There's a multimodal trail running right along it. The county engineer's memo requires additional turn lanes for safety, but the road's geometry and elevation make them unfeasible. And I've gotten that, by the way, straight out of the horse's mouth. Lake County has no plans to widen the road because they cannot. Creates unavoidable safety conflicts with tanker trucks, school buses, and cyclists, failing the public safety criteria. Community character and compatibility. 106-2E2D. The proposed fuel station borders large lot rural residential properties. 5 to 10 acres in size with private wells and septic systems. The city designates this area as rural transition, meant to maintain low-density character until infrastructure expands. A 24-hour or 21-hour which I don't even understand, 2 to 5, 24-hour I'm sorry, but I was like, really? A 24-hour operation with canopy lighting, tanker deliveries, and traffic would represent an urban intrusion is inconsistent with the area's intended use. The project conflicts with existing rural residential character and violates the intent of the district. Utility adequacy and public health. No record evidence shows that this parcel has municipal water or sewer. What I heard was we won't have a problem with it. The surrounding area remains on private wells and septic system, and there's also no documentation confirming fire or hazmat coverage. So Mayor, Council, and the City Clerk, or the applicant, do you have any availability or commitment to serve or permit confirming municipal water sewer service to this parcel? Take that as a no. If no such record exists, then the council cannot lawfully find utilities available and adequate. Without proven water, sewer, and fire response capacity, the project fails the public health and safety standard. Emergency response and fire protection. Here's your exhibits D, E, and I.
Okay, thank you.
For the record, could the city fire marshal or the city attorney or the city manager confirm for me that the city of Minneola enforces the Florida Fire Prevention Code as adapted in Florida Statute 663.202/2? Would you like me to read that again?
No, we use the most recent fire code.
Oh, thank you.
And
For the record,
NFPA
Exhibit
standards.
E is the Florida Fire Prevention Code adopted by law under Florida Statute 633.2022. It incorporates NFPA 1 and 30A, which establishes the minimum required standards for fire protection and fuel facility safety in Florida. I'm introducing it in reference, not as a physical attachment, because it's already part of Florida law. Mayor and Council, I'm entering by reference the Florida Fire Prevention Code 7th edition 2020 is adopted under Florida Statute 633.2022, together with the NFPA 1 2021 and the NFPA 30A 2021 for the limited purposes of establishing the applicable fire safety and emergency response standards for motor fuel vehicles facilities in Florida. Florida Statute 526.141 requires that fuel stations maintain emergency shutoffs, trained attendants, and compliance with fire safety codes. The Florida Fire Prevention Code and NFPA 30A require Class B foam, spill containment, and safe separation distances. NFPA 1720 establishes national response benchmarks. These are national response benchmarks. 9 minutes for urban, 10 minutes for suburban, with a crew minimum of 10. Unless you have a fire department with 10 people standing by within 10 minutes, that's what this says, with foam and hazmat. Does that exist?
We have to do the research on that.
Wow, I would have thought it had been done. We're here right now to approve a special use. If the city or county cannot document Class B foam or hazmat coverage within those times, utilities are not adequate under 106.2 E2F. Failure to meet the NFPA 1720 response benchmarks means emergency services are not available and are not adequate. Public necessity and plan consistency. This is LDC Chapter 106-2A. There are existing fuel stations within 7 to 13 minutes of the proposed site. Lake County policies require new commercial uses to complement residential areas and avoid adverse impacts. There is no proven public necessity for another fuel facility here. I was attending planning and zoning or a council meeting and only one person opposed. His name was Paul and he may be out here. This fails the public necessity requirement and conflicts with the county comprehensive plan. So the summary of facts. The record confirms that this parcel lies within a high recharge aquifer zone. It lacks adequate fire and utility infrastructure and conflicts with its rural surroundings. The Planning and Zoning Commission already voted unanimously 4-0 to recommend denial. Under Florida law, if any one criterion is unsatisfied, denial is required. My proposed motion, and I move to deny Resolution 202-517, the special exception for the convenience store with fuel services based on the competent and substantial evidence that the application fails to satisfy 106-2E, 2A, D, and F, and is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan of Lake County.
Thank you very much.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
I think I'm good. Thank you. Next.
Right?
Hi.
Hi. Good afternoon. Doug Beck, 1105 Western Blue Way, City of Minneola. I'd like to start by reminding the council what their vision of the Minneola Hills PUD is. It's the Hills of Minneola will be a healthy, active, and appealing mixed-use community where families are raised, children can walk to school, adults can live and work near their jobs, all segments of the community can work and play together. And because of this vision, the Hills of Minneola is a destination for cyclists, outdoor enthusiasts, and recreational athletes. As the previous state person spoke, City Code Section 102 establishes the review criteria, and it states that traffic generation and access shall not adversely impact the adjacent properties and general public safety. Although the applicants completed a TIA, it does not address nor propose mitigation for safety impacts to the pedestrians and cyclists using North Hancock Trail Extension and Hancock Bike Lane in accordance with FDOT's Pedestrian and Bicycle Strategic Safety Plan. Florida currently leads the nation in cycling fatalities. Lake County has been identified by FDOT as one of the top 25 most dangerous counties in the state for pedestrians and cyclists. And between 2022 and 2024, there were 797 crashes, 90 serious injuries, and 40 fatalities. The applicants proposed an entrance on Hancock located near the bottom of a long curved hill with a 4 to 6% downgrade. The design forced cyclists and pedestrians to cross paths with vehicles in a spot where there's limited time to see and avoid each other, significantly risking the risk of accident and impacting the public safety. This would represent only the second crossing of the North Hancock Trail or of the cycling trail by a gas station entrance stretching from Claricona-Apopka Horse Park to the city of Groveland. I've ridden that multiple times, and there is only one other crossing in that span. As stated in a recent Claremont Planning and Zoning Committee, where they unanimously disapproved another proposed gas station, this would only be the second gas station located on a collector roadway, not a major roadway as the applicant has discussed. The only other one located on a collector roadway exists because there was a previous Lake County entitlement that led to that approval. As the TI indicates, overwhelmingly in the AM, traffic comes from the west and proceeds to the south, heading toward the turnpike. In the morning, as westbound drivers or eastbound drivers coming from that west approach that intersection to make that entrance, they have to turn northbound onto Hancock Road and in 50 to 75 feet move over a lane, check the bike lane clear, check the trail clear, look forward to see who's coming down the hill and ensuring they're stopping for the crossway and navigate a right-hand turn into a busy gas station. To me, that represents a significant impact to the safety of the people in the area. Due to the lack of provisions for public pedestrian cycling safety, the misleading statements by the development team and their representatives, beginning with the application stating that it's on a major roadway, that the adjacent areas are vacant, that the location is located on a hurricane evacuation route, this struggles to meet the requirements of 106.2. That Hancock Trail bike lane is heavily used by world-class athletes, local athletes, and recreational enthusiasts. As the properties to the north build out, it could easily be school children heading to the the Minneola Hills Horizon Academy to the south, heading to school in the morning.
We have 3 minutes, so can you wrap it up, please?
Absolutely. I'm aware the legal challenge has been proposed by the applicant and communicated here tonight. The other party claim that they'd made is an unfounded claim as it exists on a major arterial roadway, US 27. It was identified during the City of Claremont Planning and Zoning Committee that all other gas stations exist on arterial roadways, either US 27 or Highway 50. The vision that you guys have put out is your legacy. Please push forward and see your vision fulfilled. All of the people in this room have relocated to this area because of your vision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Good evening, Mayor Kelly and members of the council. I am Cynthia Owens. I live at 2819 Purple Meadow Court. Despite the improved design aesthetics and the commitment to close the gas station between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., as well as the elimination of the amplified sound, I still have my primary concern, which I have voiced over and over again, which remains the environmental risk this gas station poses to the Floridian aquifer, particularly this location at Hancock Road and 561A. I should note at this time that I do support the comments of the first speaker regarding the impact to the groundwater. This area does lie directly above a highly permeable section of the upper Floridian aquifer, which provides drinking water to nearly 90% of Florida's population. The limestone beneath our feet acts like a sponge. Any fuel spill, stormwater runoff, or fuel tank leak can travel directly and rapidly downward into the aquifer through natural cracks and sinkholes. Once the contamination reaches that groundwater, there's no realistic way to clean it up. While modern double-walled fuel tank systems and monitoring systems do help reduce that risk, nothing is foolproof. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection reports hundreds of fuel leaks statewide each year, even from newer facilities. And substances like benzene, a known carcinogen, can persist in groundwater for decades. This site's elevation and location in a primary recharge zone make it especially sensitive. Contamination here would not stay localized. It could threaten residential wells, retention ponds, and the Green Valley watershed, affecting our entire community and beyond. I understand the need for responsible growth, and I appreciate the efforts to make this project more friendly to the community. But true responsibility means recognizing when a location simply isn't suitable for fuel storage and dispensing, particularly one sitting atop a vital water resource. I urge you to uphold the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to deny this variance and to protect Minneola's future by safeguarding our aquifer today. Thank you for your time, your service, and your thoughtful consideration on this critical issue.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Good evening, Council. Juan Camacho, 753 Rioja Drive in the city of Minneola. I do not reside within the Del Webb community. However, I stand in solidarity with the rest of the residents of that community to oppose this resolution. I'm not going to go into the exhaustive presentation that was given earlier on in this hearing. However, suffice to say, I am an attorney. I do practice in land use regulations, and I'm familiar with the standards that the City Council will be applying this evening as regards to this resolution. High level, very big principle, does this resolution advance the safety, welfare, and health of the adjacent community, and more specifically, and generally speaking, this city? The quick answer to that question is no. The competent and substantial evidence that I've heard from the applicant only has to do with addressing concerns and not necessarily bringing affirmative evidence. In other words, bringing evidence to suggest, yes, the safety of this particular project is being advanced. Yes, welfare is being advanced by this particular project. Yes, health is being advanced by this particular project. If we're talking about substantial and competent evidence, where is it? The only thing that I could see that already has been brought and will be brought by the rest of the residents of that community is in opposition to this resolution. Just some big principles I wanted to hit on. Transportation corridor, at least that was part of the applicant's presentation. It's great that we recognize and acknowledge that the Turnpike created the transportation corridor, but it's an entry point as well. What's going to be the character of the city of Minneola that's going to be projected to people coming in and coming out? I don't want to have a city of Orlando. I didn't move to Orlando. I moved to Minneola. And this shouldn't be Orlando 2.0. It should be Minneola. Let's keep the mini in Minneola. As far as the need, it's not a primary factor. Again, does it advance the safety, health, and welfare of the community? And the quick answer to that question is no. Other gas stations have been approved. You know, it's funny because the same applicant proposed a gas station right behind my house, and along with a grocery store and along with a liquor store, which this city council is very much aware that only happened recently. The question has to be whether or not there's evidence in support of the resolution. Is the health, safety, and welfare advanced? In that situation, for my community, it was not. And I disagreed respectfully with the city council's conclusion in reaching the approval of that resolution. But that principle doesn't have to be repeated here. Is safety, health, and welfare repeated? Is it advanced? If the answer is no, then don't be afraid to say no to the application. And last but not least, as far as competent and substantial evidence, I don't want to reiterate or beat the tail end of the bush here, but I've heard a lot of things about concerns being addressed by the applicant. However, again, affirmative evidence demonstrating that this is good for the safety, health, and welfare is missing. Don't make a decision based on omission. Make a decision based upon the affirmative evidence that is being presented by the opposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Please.
Good evening, Mayor Kelly and members of the council. My name is Dwayne Smith. I live at 2767 Purple Meadow Court in Minneola. At the October 7th council meeting, you lectured our community on the quasi-judicial nature of these proceedings by, from our take, basically threatening anyone who did not stick to what we can best describe are the 6 items listed in the application for a special exception, as outlined as previously mentioned, section 106.2E2. And did not tell facts that they could prove with some hard evidence that would be subject to perjury. I argue your stated standards for this special exception are incomplete and vague. In Minneola's code, as was previously noted, when reviewing the application, it has to consider the requirements and criteria that you listed, but are not limited to those. It then goes on to list those 6 criteria, but you never state what the other criteria are that may be used to make a determination on this particular matter. An example of this vagueness is your first review criteria, which sets traffic generation for proposed use shall not adversely impact adjoining properties. As my one of my other members did earlier, they talked about adjacent properties, which is what we are. And it's interesting that your criteria only looks at adjoining properties. In the case of the adjoining property is vacant, but the adjacent properties are residential. Even your comprehensive plan states the mitigation of impacts of adjacent incompatible development is an objective of the city and its land use. While the city code does not explicitly require an assessment of the impact to adjacent properties, especially residential properties, and is not included as a stated criteria, it would seem it is a factor the city must consider in addition to the 6 listed criteria. As adjacent property owners, the community is united in their concern that allowing the right in, right out on entrance on North Hancock will create a hazardous traffic flow in front of the community. It's my belief that, and many people here, that drivers that are going to the gas station that then wish to head south on North Hancock, which is where a lot of the traffic goes, 45% roughly, are going to be inclined to take a U-turn. Even though the applicant indicates not, my experience anecdotally is that people get tired of waiting for lights and stuff like that, and they'd rather be moving, so they'll go up and do the U-turn, come back down, because they figure it's going to be a shorter light and they're going to get a straight in versus missing the turn signal and everything else. And looking at the traffic analysis, the report notes that the gas station will have 3,086 visits a day. From this figure and other data in the report, one can estimate that 45% of those vehicles will be going south on Hancock when they leave the station. This would mean that 1,390 cars per day would leave that station intending to go southbound. And they're going to now have to go out, make turns across multiple lanes of traffic to get into a left turn lane, which is right there almost. And if that's backed up, then they don't know what they're going to do. So we think that there's going to be plenty of U-turns, and that is the only entrance and egress to our community. And it just takes an accident there to shut everything down. The traffic coming southbound on Hancock has no stop sign. So if somebody's not paying attention, they're going to get broadsided anyways because it's a slight hill there, so you can't really see. It's just not a really good intersection to be having people having to be forced into.
I hate to cut you off at this time, but your time is up.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you
So
very
I
much.
ask you to uphold the P&Z findings and to vote against this resolution due to the public safety issues it raises. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just have questions again. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm BJ McNally. I live at 2850 Purple Meadow Court, Minneola, 34715. And I have a question about section 134.2, access and management driveways specifically. I don't know if it applies, but I think it does. And it says that basically There have to be dedicated turn lanes installed on the road accessing, which is being accessed at the property, entrances to the development or determined by the following. If the property accessing the road is projected to generate 50 or more vehicle trips during peak hour or contains more than 50 residential lots. If they are going to have however many Mike just said visiting them, I would suggest that they're expecting more than 50 visitors to their fuel pumps at peak hour, which would mean they would be required, I'm questioning, to have a dedicated turn lane, which cannot happen on 531 or 541 or Hancock Road. So that would be an exception that would make that deniable. Yes?
You think they are, if you look at the site plan, that they county roads?
Yeah, both roads are the counties. They would have jurisdiction over the driveway connections and what is required for those connections.
That, you're looking at,
That's section 134.2 under what you have in
it's
yours.
under Minneola, but
Under
it's,
Minneola.
but that's if Minneola owns the road. It's, if the Lake County owns the road, they have different rules. I apologize.
Okay. The next thing is, the gentleman, Jonathan, the attorney, suggested that the people that live in Ferndale and are going, I'm terrible with north and south and east and west,
It's fine.
towards the traffic light, I think that's south on Hancock, and would be driving in front of Del Webb going to the traffic light that meets 561.
Yes, ma'am.
Would be, that's one of the reasons we need this gas station. But to get to it, they would have to turn onto 561 and make a left turn across traffic. They can't, or they would have to wait till they were coming home, and it would have to be a well-planned visit, in my opinion. So I think that kind of knocks out, we really need this gas station where it is for the benefit of the people who haven't had a gas station and survived for all those years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? You got somebody else.
Dave Yeager, 2750 Purple Meadow Court, Del Webb. So basically, we did a special exception years ago so we can decide when, where, and how. When we had a master planning in the library now, the old City Hall, we looked at all fuel opportunities to be near the turnpike. The fuel opportunities were never that way going to 561A. And the evacuation routes were always the turnpike 27. So that was the master plan, to make sure that all fuel opportunities were closer to the turnpike so people could get off and get on. As far as the environmental concerns, I've been doing this for 30 years. The turnpike, your water is already compromised. The aquifer is already compromised. The turnpike, I've done 3,300 diesel spills on the turnpike. So there are issues about fuel. Tanks obviously are much better than they used to be. I would ask you to deny this, and I would ask you to go through the procedure and let them do mediation, and then let the judge at the end of the day say yes or no. But it's not the time, and you know, we have other worries up in Del Webb, is the traffic that's going to generate from Hancock from 455, because remember when we opened the turnpike, everybody who came down 561 went to 27 and went north to the turnpike to get on. Once we opened the turnpike, the floodgates open. Everyone from up there to Verey's comes down our way to 561A and takes a right and goes on to Hancock. When that road finally gets turned over, because that road right now, Hancock past Del Webb, isn't turned over to the county, it's still probably Junior Davis has it. And when that opens up, everyone will not go 561A to 455. They're going to come down 455 to Hancock and go south. And we probably have 15 years worth of truck traffic because there's going to be a lot of building going on up there. If you haven't been up there recent, there's a lot of trees taken down, and so they're not taken down just for somebody to do something. But again, the aquifer, I clean up spills for a living. The DEP regulations is 10 parts per million. That's all that's what you have to do. It hits the hard pan, it goes sideways. So as far as the aquifer, it's already compromised, and the turnpike is a cesspool of fuel spills. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? He almost made it up there. We're good.
Hi, I'm Robin Duranick. I live at 1284 Zesty Citrus Lane, like a Hallmark movie, in Del Webb, Minneola. Thank you for your service, and thank you for listening to what we have to say today.
Robin, I'm sorry, Robin, can you, it's me
Closer?
up here. Yeah, thank you. If you can bring that mic down, because I can't hear you. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
I had a career in investigation, and my husband is retired law enforcement, so public safety is very much so a concern of our family. And so I did a little research on, actually it was 24-hour gas stations. I just found out recently that we have a 3-hour opportunity that they're closing the gas station. But for 24 hours, retailers operating 24 hours double the odds of experiencing violent crimes. Further, the FBI states that both gas stations and convenience stores are top locations for robbery and violent crimes in 2022. They were the location of 13.8 of all robberies in the United States. So this is certainly not in the interest of public safety to have a gas station that's open for 22 hours a day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Oh. Thank you for your patience.
James Holman, 1613 Evening Summit Circle, Minneola Council. We've been talking about Section 106-2, special exceptions that they have to comply. The one item that I don't believe they have complied with is the simple notification to public to put up a sign on the property telling the date and time of the meeting. I looked at it today. It says the P&Z was on September 7th and the council meeting was on October 7th. I think today is November 3rd or 4th. So they didn't comply with that part of the ordinance. So the outcome of this proposal will set a precedent for future development in our rapidly growing region. It is therefore critical that the decision balance economic growth with community values and environmental stewardship. I urge the council to prioritize neighborhood-friendly projects that strengthen rather than diminish the health, safety, and cohesion of our community. For these reasons and the other reasons that people have brought up this evening, I strongly encourage you to reject this proposal. Our residents value clean air, safe streets, and a healthy environment for our families. This is not simply about opposing a gas station. It's about protecting the character of our neighborhood and ensuring that future development reflects the kind of community that we all want to live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, I'll bring it back to council for discussion at this time, or sorry, rebuttal from the applicant. I apologize about that.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple points. Won't take a lot of time to get through them. In terms of evacuation route, we did not bring the maps that we utilized to prepare that map, so I cannot cite to you where that came from, but we were able to, while looking on the phone, locate a map that indicated that US 27 Turnpike and 561 are all evacuation routes. So we would submit that the location is in close vicinity of all of those and would be utilized as part of any need to get out of town quickly to be a fuel site. And that's supportable by the conditions that were crafted in the resolution. You know, I think ultimately this is a decision you all are going to make. I will tell you that the staff report and the staff findings is the competent substantial evidence I think that could support and should support a approval. It's important to note that this project is in the city of Minneola. It's not in unincorporated Lake County. Lake County's comp plan does not apply. Those policies don't not apply to this project. It would be the city's policies. I would also object to any introduction of expert testimony by an individual that is not here and cannot be cross-examined. I think Florida law is very clear that if there's going to be competent substantial evidence via testimony of an expert, which I believe the first speaker had tried to submit, that expert would need to be here and be able to be cross-examined by ourselves as the applicant of this project, and he's not, so I would object to entry of that information in support of a position in opposition. But ultimately, this property is zoned commercial. There was foresight in your city council to have a commercial use on this property. The special exception process allows for you all to cater and condition a use such as gas. And if ultimately that's denied, there's a host of other commercial uses that could be used here that's going to have the potential for far more transportation impacts than what's being proposed, because gas stations ultimately are a huge pass-by capture, meaning those vehicles are already on the road and they stop by on their way home or on their way to work, whereas other uses are going to potentially have much more transportation impact. There's potential for a lot more noise. And if it's a commercial use that's permitted by right, it can come through and just prove up that the requirements of site design are met, and there won't be any ability to further condition or put restrictions on that use. We feel the resolution has done a good job of balancing that. We believe the use can be utilized here, the gas station, based on modern technology of gas, of design and the operator's commitment to exceed minimum standards. And we would ask you to support it. And we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do want, for the record, state what we have as far as council in front of us. And public safety is something I stand by wholeheartedly, 100%. And with that said, in front of us, there is from a Helene Glatt, I believe her last, and I apologize if I pronounced it incorrectly, but she does have here Lake County Sheriff's Office incident report showing the number of vehicle accidents which have occurred at the intersection of North Hancock and County Road 561A, dating back from 2018 to April 21st of 2025. And there are a total of 28 traffic accidents in that area. And I know for certain, and as she has stated here, and I thank her for this, I don't know if she's in the audience right now, but she had mentioned here that with the gas station, the traffic will be at the main entrance and there will be future accidents to add to it, and I have to agree with her 100%. So again, I will go back to public safety, traffic issues, and I also want to make a comment. Regarding that U-turn on North Hancock, I hate to say it, but if people don't want to make that right to make that U-turn, you know what's going to happen? They're going to go right over that little median area. Okay? They're going to go right over it. Grass is going to get destroyed, a little tree is going to be demolished. I mean, people are in a rush in the mornings to get back and forth. They're not going to want to do that U-turn. They're not going to want to go out the other way and make that, and all that other stuff. They're going to go through that median that's there and destroy what is beautifully displayed there as of right now. Thank you.
I'm going to defer.
Public comment has been closed.
As an intervener, I have the right to
Public
object.
comment has been closed. Thank you.
Are we asking questions, or are we just going to comment?
You can, if you have any questions for the
I
applicant.
don't have any questions at this time.
So the applicant came in pretty guns a-blazing. I mean, you guys came in with case studies ready essentially to take us to litigation if this was to go not the way you guys wanted. So you put the council almost in a very defensive position right from the get-go. Could be a good business tactic, could be a horrible business tactic. In my opinion, it's a pretty horrible business tactic. But one thing that was said, and one thing based on research, I'm not going to cite sources because it seems that's what everybody's doing this evening, but one question for the applicant that does require, based on zoning for special exception, is whether this will not negatively impact public health, safety, and welfare, like we've heard, or if this will not have excessive pollution, noise pollution, hazardous activity, or whatnot. So, on record, can you guarantee that there will be no gas leaks from a car or a tank? The answer, no. You're going to go on record, you can't, right, you can't. So there you go, that will and can potentially affect residents' welfare within the city. You also mentioned that the council did vote for the similar project, which I believe you are representative of on 27th. Well, that is inaccurate because not everyone on council voted in favor for that. You were not, okay. Well, then I rebuke that statement. You did say that, we did vote, the council did vote in favor of that. Well, not everyone voted in favor of that. In fact, I voted nay for the exact same reason of having only one right-in, one right-in, right-out access. And similarly, this is exactly what it is, again. Unfortunately, special exceptions require approval because they require a special exception. Yes, you want to put in any other business in there that's within the zoning, 100%, I'll be the first one to cut that ribbon. But coming in this with a very defensive posture for a special exception is not really probably the best way you want to start a relationship with the city. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Saunders, any questions, concerns?
No?
Okay. At this point in time, I'm going to make an exception to let him speak, just to let it.
Sorry? What happened?
Colin, I'm making a special exception. Do you want to, if you'd like to say something, if you make it brief, please do, but we can't go back and forth.
It is brief and it's an objection and I have a right as an intervener.
Clint, yeah. I thought you said Kyle. I'm sorry.
So, Mayor, thank you, though. For the record, this correspondence that I submitted for Sean Parks was not submitted as sworn testimony, but as a documentary evidence. A written expert opinion provided by Mr. Parks' professional capacity as an environmental planner. It was sent in response to a request for technical clarification through his planning business, not his role as county commissioner, and therefore qualifies as an expert communication under the quasi-judicial standards allowing written expert evidence. I'll leave the rest for the attorney to brief you on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you like to, anything else to say? Okay. Before we come back, is there any final comments that we'd like to say before we bring it back to council for a motion? Okay. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question, just clarifying for myself and some others. Jennifer Morris, 1064 Golden Dawn Loop. Because it's Zone B1, does that have anything to do with the fact that they could put Live Local Act in that parcel?
It's part of a PUD, so that would be excluding at this point in time, since it's in a PUD, it can't be B1 in a PUD. It has to be B1 outside of a PUD.
Okay, so if it's within PUD, we're
Yeah,
good.
that
Okay.
kind of-
Actually, it
is
has
it
been
changed?
amended and.
Oh, then I
is-
stand corrected.
Oh,
I
okay.
apologize.
So that's actually not clear anymore, and so
Okay, so I apologize for giving you misinformation. Last I heard,
I don't know all the details about the size of the property and all, and whether or not it would work, but that it would be feasible. That's a commercial property,
so they
designated
excluded, so they
commercial property,
excluded,
that's
they
right.
included ones in PUDs now?
Right, if they are designated as either commercial or industrial, even though they're in a PUD, like
Okay.
this one, it's designated commercial, and so it would be able to be utilized for a Live Local project.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I apologize, Jennifer.
No, it's okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Okay. Bring it back to council on this one. And I'm trying to, a negative is kind of the bad thing. So if you make a motion to approve, and just to clarify to the audience here, if somebody makes a motion to approve something, that doesn't mean they're voting yes for it. So let's just clarify that. So what you need is you need a positive motion for approval, and then if it doesn't get 3 yes votes, it then fails. That way, can you help me explain this a little bit more? You understand what I'm saying?
Please explain, because I don't see why we can't have a negative.
It's
Like,
just,
I-
it's really for the sake of confusion, because a lot of folks, if you have a negative motion, will get confused, just like the mayor said, and will vote the opposite of their intention.
You don't want a double negative, just like in.
Okay.
Yeah, so in
I mean-
short, I can bring up the motion, but that doesn't mean I'm going to vote yes to it. If there are 3 nays,
No, that
The motion-
yeah,
motion
that part I know, but I just can't see why someone can't vote, I am not approving,
You just vote nay.
you just vote nay on it.
but again, what I'm saying is, why can I say, I am not approving Resolution 2025-17?
Or I move to deny.
Or I move to make a motion to not
I
approve it.
will entertain anything you want. I'm not making a motion. I'm just saying, for clarification purposes, because years ago,
Thank
somebody
you.
didn't explain me to the rules, and I got confused. So I'm just letting y'all.
Okay, well, I just,
So if you vote, let's just clarify, for council, just want to make sure, if somebody makes a motion to deny it, and we all vote yay, then it gets denied. If we vote to approve and you vote no, so that's where it's going to get confusing. So you just want to make sure you word if you're going to make a motion, you need to make sure that you word it correctly.
oh,
If you're not going to make the motion, then,
I can make that motion and word it very well.
okay.
Sorry.
And it will be a roll call vote, starting
Okay.
with you, and you
Okay.
need to fully
Absolutely.
disclose why you're voting the way you are for the
Okay.
record.
Okay, so you ready?
And that's if it gets a second, but yes, go ahead.
Okay. I am making a motion to deny Resolution 2025-17, special exemption for convenience store with fuel service, quasi judicial. And the reason for my vote, please hold. Oh, for my motion, excuse me.
Wait, we got to get a second.
Oh,
before you vote.
okay, let's do this.
And please know if it's written down, you need to submit anything written down.
Oh, okay, we can do that
Just
too.
letting you know, it's got to be
Okay.
submitted into the, so. I got a motion, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Now, roll call vote, starting with you, Vice Mayor, if you'll please
Okay.
vote and explain. and-
I am denying the resolution for several reasons: traffic concern, public safety, fuel tanks, and also, hold on, let me look. Location, location, location.
So so your vote is what?
I'm denying,
It's a yes or no?
what do you mean?
Is this
It's a yay.
Okay, thank
Yay
you.
that
Thank-
I'm a nay.
Oh, a what? You're a what?
No, it's a resolution that I'm denying this resolution.
So how are you voting, yea or nay?
Okay, yay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I just
thank
want to
you.
make sure we're on the same page.
Sorry.
Okay.
Debbie, it's fine.
Okay, I'm voting yay on
Okay.
her because she's denying, right?
Okay.
And the reason I am is for a couple reasons. First of all, I want to say something. Thank you all for coming out to all these meetings because you are why we're up here. We're here to hear your voices. Two, I want to give kudos and appreciation to Mr. Pownell. This was a very nice packet. Third, because of, I know he's not here, but Sean Parks did say because of all adjoining properties rely on shallow well water, that the risk to drinking water is direct and substantial. The other reason is I'm standing beside our planning and zoning board. I watched them as the council liaison go over and over this project, and I'm standing by their motion for denial. And the fourth, you all elected us and we hear you.
Thank you.
I'll be voting yay for this as well. Reason being is the same presidents as I voted to prior with the one write-in, one write-out that was voted in September. This is very similar to it, therefore, as I voted no previous, I'll be voting no for this one as well, which in turn is a yay.
Okay.
See that?
Very good.
Well, you have to vote.
I vote last.
You what?
I vote last.
You vote last?
Yes.
Oh. Yay,
But and reason?
because nobody wants a gas station.
I'm going to vote yay, denial. It's for a different reason than all of those are valid reasons. I'm not going to discount them. Mine is because somebody had asked earlier, we did have a meeting prior to the last council meeting, and there has not been a formal agreement between the adjacent property owners to ensure what 561A access is going to be like. I know it was in the agreement that would be worked out, but we've had things in other agreements where it said, oh yeah, we'll worry about that later, and it's become a nightmare for the city, but I don't think it was fully thought through. And so when those two projects come together, when this plan and the project next to it, us as council, we can't look at a project in a fisheye and just look at this one project. We have to go up 50,000 feet and look at what the two projects look like together, so the continuity between the two. So I'll be denying it because there's really not a formal, what I feel comfortable with approving, because my concern is if that agreement's not in place and solid, and you approve a gas station, they could come back later on and say, well, we couldn't really get the access on 561, and but we have our gas, so we're gonna have to go off of Hancock. So it was the long-term planning is my concern of how that was gonna work out. Out of due respect, I would also like to thank everybody here on myself and behalf of council of y'all's professionalism, your preparation through this evening, how y'all have handled yourselves, how you spoke very eloquently, you kept to the facts. I do appreciate that and the respect you've had for us this evening and then previously. So we do thank you. And yay. So it fails 5-0.
Oh, it passes.
Motion carried.
Passes 5-0 to fail.
Thank you. Is it possible if we can take maybe
5-minute.
10-minute break?
We'll take a 10-minute break if you don't
10-minute
mind.
break?
10-minute break.
Make a motion.
To a second?
Second?
Okay. And bedtime.
Getting close to mine, too. That was me again, so. Thank you. Get your steps in.
This could have been over in 2 hours.
Call back to order. Minneola City Council.
At least the audience stayed. That's good.
So,
Back to item 4, would you like me to read it into the record?
yes, please.
All right.
Sorry.
So this is Resolution 2025-25, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Minneola, Florida, granting variances to Land Development Code Sections 94-4, Prin F, Prin 7B regarding blank walls, 94-4, Prin F, Prin 9B regarding roof edge and parapet treatment, and Section 94-4 F9C4 regarding roofing materials for property generally located north of Citrus Grove Road and south of Sullivan Road and west of Florida Turnpike, providing for conditions, providing for recordation, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you. Again, for the record, Eric Grosh with Inspire Placemaking here in my capacity as a contract planner to the city. Let me fast forward through this presentation. This is item number 4 on your agenda this evening, the Camp Lake Industrial Variances. Project's located west of North Hancock Road and the Flores Turnpike. It's north of Citrus Grove Road, outlined on the screen. Phase 1 of the Commerce Park is just over 32 acres in size. Excuse me, that's Phase 1A. It's zoned PUD, and it's got access from what's known as Turkey Farm Road. You can see that small right-of-way that extends east-west from Citrus Grove. The PUD was originally approved back in 2006, and then there was an amendment in 2019. It designated this area as Industrial and Research Park, as you can see on the screen. Future design guidelines were supposed to be developed for this area. You can see the highlighted box below where it says future design guidelines for this area will be developed and will be highlighted by a lake as an integral feature of the development. We're here today because those future design guidelines were not developed. So there is some architectural relief being requested from the applicant for the Commerce Park. It's about 1.4 million square feet of industrial uses allowed within the Commerce Park. This is a small portion of that. And I'll just note that Crooked Can and Advent Health have also received some architectural relief. And I think the challenge here is meeting the city's architectural requirements when you have such large users, requirements for glazing and reduction of blank walls and things of that nature are hard to meet when you have square footages that get over 100,000 square feet. So just a refresher on this site plan, you have seen it before. It was submitted in 2024, and it was approved in concept by council on December 17th, 2024. It included 2 buildings, roughly 378,000 square feet, but it didn't include any architectural renderings, which is the reason we're here today. We received those architectural drawings in July of 25, and the variants were submitted in September of this year. You can see the site plan north on your screen is going to be to the left towards Camp Lake, and you can see Citrus Grove Road on the south side of the property. So they've requested 3 variances from code. The first one's from 94-4F7B. It provides a limitation on blank wall areas, so you can't have blank walls in excess of 10 feet vertically or 20 feet horizontally. The second one's a parapet variance. They want to remove the parapet of the portion of the roof fronting the turnpike. And the last one's a roof variance, and you've seen a number of these recently for the flat roof type buildings. The city's code requires the roof to be constructed out of metal or tile as the primary material, and many of these modern industrial buildings use a TPO membrane roof. It's been a pretty common variance request, something we need to look at in the code potentially. So these are the proposed building elevations that were provided by the applicant. They have a full presentation. They may do an abbreviated one tonight, I'm not sure, but it outlines their proposal. They proposed to dress up the front of the building and comply with certain aspects of the code. But they do have some blank wall areas that exceed the 10 by 20 requirements. And then, of course, they're missing the parapet adjacent to the turnpike. The second building is comparable. You can see the loading bays, and then you can see the kind of flex space frontage, which faces closer to Turkey Farm Road and the Founders Ridge project. As typical, we reviewed for consistency with the variance criteria in section 98-13. One is no diminishment in property value. 2 is benefit to the public interest. 3 is there needs to be a necessary hardship. 4 shouldn't be contrary to the spirit of the code. 5 is shouldn't just grant a variance because it would be a financial disadvantage or inconvenience to the applicant. And then 6 allows the city to consider physical hardships. Those haven't been requested through this. So the first one, as I mentioned, is the blank wall areas, 10 foot to 20 feet. We looked at the overall proposal for the elevations. We worked with the applicant, and they did provide some additional relief and reveal work. So it's not just a flat blank canvas adjacent to the right-of-way. They've also proposed some landscaping that will provide some visual breaks to help conceal some of the architecture. We don't feel that it's likely to reduce property values due to that. It does add tenant flexibility due to dock placements, racking layouts, and tenant build-out options. I think some of their concerns with adding additional windows and such is it really reduces the functionality of the building. They've suggested that a hardship would be that they would impair tenant functionality by providing that. Spirit of the Land Development Code, it's in place to enhance visual appearance, and they've suggested that that can be accomplished through landscaping. They have said that it would cause a financial disadvantage, but that's not the only reason for the request. And then finally, they haven't claimed a physical hardship. In terms of the parapets, they are providing parapets in 3 of the locations surrounding the building, just not on the back adjacent to the turnpike. Our concern, obviously, is that rooftop equipment could be visible from the rights-of-way, which is, not consistent with the attractive building environment, promoted by the code. So we did request some additional information, and in their presentation to the Planning and Zoning Commission, they did show that those pieces of rooftop equipment would be concealed from the property lines in the rights-of-way. We requested additional information on the public interest, the hardship, and on consistency with the Land Development Code, which all was provided at the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, and I'm sure they're going to present that again tonight. And ultimately, the Planning and Zoning Commission found that those were valid, and they ultimately ended up recommending approval based on those responses that were provided at the meeting. Financial disadvantage, again, it's not just a financial issue for them. They're specifically referencing design inefficiencies that would occur by providing the parapet, and they haven't claimed that hardship. And then finally, the rooftop material, it's not likely to be visible from the right-of-way. So whether it's going to be a metal roof, it's going to be a tile roof, or this thermoplastic roof, we found that was not likely to diminish the property values. It's in the public interest. The provision of a tile roof that would not be visible is not really recommended in this location. We found that it's consistent with the spirit of the Land Development Code and that flat roofs are not prohibited. You're allowed to do a flat roof. It just talks about the material type. And then, again, back to financial disadvantage, it is a more energy efficient option than a metal or a tile roof. So it's got some benefits there, and they, again, haven't claimed a hardship. So we did request that additional information. They responded at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and I'm sure they're willing to present that tonight. And Planning and Zoning recommended approval 4-0 with very little discussion. So with that, I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Questions?
No, thank you.
Is the applicant here?
Hey, good evening. My name's Kevin Castile with Strategic Development Partners. I'm the owner of the property and the applicant. Address is 2235 Roxburgh Drive, Roswell, Georgia.
Good evening.
Do you have any specific questions? Do you have any specific questions?
No.
Do you have any, do you have like a, Joe does, so, okay.
Yeah, what I'll do is maybe just give a quick introduction instead of going
Yeah,
through a full
if we can just get to the
presentation.
questions instead, I didn't.
Happy to answer any questions you have.
If it's like 45-minute presentation with theme songs and a musical number.
I can do a dance, but
we're
no,
kind of, just
I
like
know,
to get
I know
to
you had a
the,
long night already. So just
Yeah.
real quickly, just want to say that from the very beginning, we started working on this 3.5 years ago. We understand we're the front door to your city. When people get off the turnpike, they're going to see our project first, or one of the first things they see. We understand that's important to the image of the city, to the residents around us. We understand we're a light industrial zoning, and you know it was meant to be light industrial to create job opportunities where people could work close to where they live, et cetera. And so we are excited to move forward with the project. The goal is to break ground on the project before the year end, and you know, even with these variances that we're requesting from an architectural standpoint, we still plan to over-design these buildings way above just what we typically would for an industrial building that sits in the middle of an industrial park surrounded by other industrial. We understand the importance of this project. It needs to look nice, it needs to be nice. And so the request we're asking for today in no way diminish the quality of the product or the overall visual appeal of it.
okay, if you don't mind, I'm going to defer to Mr. Saunders if he has questions, and if you need to click through your slides to get to those questions. Mr. Saunders?
Well, I wrote up a viewpoint. I'm going to read it, if I may,
Fine.
so I don't get lost. Keep it all in order. 3 variants are requested. Use of a flat roof, not a tile and metal roof. No parapet at the rear of the building facing the turnpike. Use of a rear flat walls without a visual break. Those are the variants. The related ordinances came about in conjunction with the potential appearance of commercial buildings located along major roads like the Turnpike or Highway 27. However, these codes were also relevant to other locations with views from residential areas. The council and staff's objective was to keep the residential look of Minneola and not go to the commercial or industrial look in highly visible zones. The council has in the past not approved variances on these issues, resulting in developers moving on to other cities. However, in other instances, similar variance approval was granted because of the unique location and topographic area. Council does try to be a fair and reasonable body. Flat roof issue. In this case, the appearance of the flat roof with metal devices on top as viewed from surrounding roads is only one of 4 factors, including the view from the 4-story hospital, future commercial developments across the turnpike, future commercial properties along the turnpike to the north and south, and the high elevation of residential areas close by. Remember, cost is not a factor for variance approval. Parapet issue. A parapet is required by Minneola code to make all sides of the building comparable in design appearance and reduce or minimize the commercial or industrial look, especially from a major road or surrounding area. Again, cost is not a factor. Flat wall issue. Flat walls with long uninterrupted surfaces and or alternative materials looks overly commercial and highly visible mixed-use areas. Add to that, in this case, 2 long buildings with overhead bay doors, 20 in a row along the turnpike, and Minneola loses the look and charm we strive so hard to keep. Alternatives, possible alternatives. Face the front offices to the turnpike for the better look. Or the rear of the 2 buildings could face each other in optional configurations. This provides more direct truck access to the rear of the building. The commercial look would be internal to development, but would still need a good-looking treatment. The future thoroughfare through these commercial developments will require an aesthetic view as seen from the future phases internal to this development. This is the beginning of, I believe, 7 buildings?
Yes, sir.
Something like that. The future commercial development across the street, the new road that will be a future connection to Sullivan Road with residential and local traffic, a future connection to the Citrus Grove Town Center with high vehicle and pedestrian through traffic. I don't know if all of that is true or not, but I think it's a possibility because the other developments haven't begun yet. Parapets are still required at the rear of the building to match the building's overall design. That was the purpose of the parapets. Flat roofs along the turnpike still do not meet the architect standards, and a better look needs to be considered, like slope roofs, tile roof, metal, or something equivalent that will make them look less than flat. Flat walls with many overhead doors still look industrial, with trucks loading along the turnpike, whether facing the turnpike or not. Perhaps landscape, door design, or site layout could deal with this issue. I don't know, I'm not an architect. If okay with the developer, council could table the variance decision to a future council meeting where the developer could address these issues. Or council could take up an up or down vote on each variance tonight. Minneola City Council could decide the appearance facing the turnpike. Flat roofs versus the metal or tile, yes or no? Parapets at the rear of the building, yes or no? Flat walls at the rear of the building, yes or no? Individually. This is the first of many commercial buildings along the turnpike. It is likely these variances will come up over and over again because of the cost factors involved and the effort it takes to correct and make them more commercial, less costly, in other words. If council is going to approve variances like these every time, then council should consider changing the code to eliminate the requirements and just go with the commercial look. And again, I'll note that all 3 variances were recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Board, without question. That's it.
No, thank you, Joe.
No, Joe, I think you're right, because if this is going to be the first building, you know, it sets a precedent, so I get it.
So maybe I can comment or address some of the concerns you brought up and kind of talk through them. So,
Sure.
I'm gonna skip forward here a little bit. So we'll start first with I think it was the 3rd item that you brought up, which was the variance for the architectural reveals and the flat walls on the buildings. And so what we've done on both of the first 2 buildings is we have included what we would consider a lot more glass, a lot more reveals, a lot more architectural change in design throughout the buildings to decrease the amount of flat wall space. So on general, for each of these buildings, for both buildings, we are coming within 90 to 94%, depending on which building you're looking at, of meeting the vertical flat wall space and 52% of meeting the horizontal flat wall space. And what I mean by that, for clarification, is basically if you're looking at the top line there, where the dock walls are, on that wall, we do not meet that flat wall space because of the functionality of needing the dock doors aligning that back wall and then the structural component needed to support that with the flat concrete wall above it. But on the front of the building, where all the, tenants, office space, majority of their employees, et cetera, would sit, we've put substantially more glass along the front of that building to generate a more of an office type feel than just a traditional industrial building where you would maybe typically have a quarter as much glass as what's shown there. So we've tried to still design something that's attractive, so that it does look nice as part of the industrial park.
Can I ask a question before you go off of this, just to clarify? Because when I looked at this, are those multiple shades that you're going to have on the building?
So
they're accents?
It is. It's a 3-paint color scheme, so
Okay.
different shades of color.
So it's not,
It's
per
2-story
se,
glass.
a flat wall, just a big white flat wall. There is some contour where this panel's one color, this panel's another color, and
That's correct.
it's
And-
breaking it out. So, okay.
And we put additional striping along the wall, multiple
Okay.
bands of striping, 2-story glass on the corners, not just single-story glass, to give it more of a elevated office feel in the corners, provide more natural light into the inside of the building for tenants. We do have glasses along, additional glass panels, as you can see there, at a higher level in the building as well. We do not have skylights on the roof, but we have additional glass paneling along the exterior of the building.
Right.
So, yes, we are asking for a variance, but we have substantially increased what we would typically build in other locations here.
I'm fine with the multicolor, as long as it's the multicolored stuff like that. There's not a broken down, as Joe said, one big.
So can you go back to the previous note one more? So where it says tenant name, obviously it's going to be signage. Is that
Correct.
going to be planned to be lit, or is that going to be not lit?
It would depend, so depending on the tenant, what they would like, if they want something that's outside of what's currently required by the code, they would have to come in and request that, or we would come in on their behalf and request it. But today, we would plan to do whatever is required within the code.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Okay.
Save that for another day.
I don't like signage.
Gotcha.
You want to tell that to your tenants.
You won't eat at Jimmy John's.
Papa John's.
And so, not to skip forward too quickly, I'm happy to come back and answer more questions on that, but I want to make sure I'm getting
No,
to
I
the
think
other.
I'm good with that.
The roof material, and then the parapet walls. So for these first two buildings, I understand your question or comment about if we're gonna develop 7 buildings here, currently there's not a standard in the PUD. So yes, we're probably we would have to come in and request specific things for each building on a one-off basis. Our goal is in first quarter of next year to try to write an architectural set of standards for the overall project for the next 5 buildings, bring that in as part of a PUD amendment review and approval process, so that we're not having to do this for each individual building. The topography of the site is the hills of Minneola, right? So it's topography challenged. The first 2 buildings, however, are not. They sit up kind of level, for rough idea, level. I got some slides I can show you. Level with the turnpike, where the exit ramp is of the turnpike. The rest of the site does topographically go down towards Camp Lake and sit below the turnpike. So the slides I'm going to show you today on how we're managing the roof, the parapet walls, the equipment on the roof, et cetera, are specific for these 2 buildings. It will be different for the other buildings in order to still provide an attractive, structure. So like, for example, and to be clear, we're only asking for this variance for these 2 buildings, not for the others. I'll show you some slides here. So come back to these. These 2 slides here, so where it's highlighted in orange along the perimeter of the building is where we're proposing to put a parapet wall. Those parapet walls are strategically placed to hide any sort of rooftop units that are used to condition the space of the building. Same with this one. And then I've got a couple slides of what the viewpoint would be from the turnpike. So this first, I'll show you this. Those are the viewpoints that I'm going to show you in the next slides. Is if you were coming up the turnpike, heading call it from north to south, and exiting off the turnpike taking a right onto Hancock Road. These would be your kind of line of sight studies, showing where if you're at those different points on the road, looking at the building, without the parapet walls on the back of the building, but with them on the front of the building, your viewpoint is you're not going to see the roof at all, and it's going to be above where those units are currently planned to be placed, behind the parapet walls that would be constructed. This is your kind of the viewpoint from the blue. I'm going fast here. You can go back and if you want to see a specific viewpoint. But once again, line of sight study by our engineer provided that from those positions in the right of way, you would not be able to see the units or the roof. And then from just an overall aesthetic standpoint, here are some viewpoints with some elevations of what the buildings are proposed to look like. So the kind of same thing going from north to south as you exit Hancock Road. There's three viewpoints today. So just to give you an idea, that's looking up at the building, not able to see the roof, wouldn't be able to see the rooftop units. From here, it's even better because it's the elevation. You've got a existing berm out there today in FDOT right-of-way and in the public right-of-way that will remain. And then last here, once again, not able to see the top of the building for these first two. So happy to answer any more questions specifically about that. As far as functionality for the roof, I mean, the TPO roof is a Class A industrial standard roof that we put on all of our buildings. It's more energy efficient, and it's definitely a better material and a better product for what we're doing than what's currently in the code, the city code. There's no specifics in the PUD. Let's see, what else did you touch on? I think you mentioned, flipping the buildings around. So I wanted to go back to this really quick so that you can see what your visual will be from North Hancock Road. So that red line there is a line of sight point to the truck court area of Building A. If you look at the bottom of the screen to the right, that yellow box, just to be clear, that's not the building. The building you will see, but that is the back of a truck trailer height in your line of sight from North Hancock looking into the truck court. The trees that are being planted, that are being proposed, will shade and guard the visibility of the trucks. Yes, you're going to see the building, but you wouldn't see the back of the trucks, or I guess they'd be technically the front of the trucks as they're backed up to the dock positions. I think there's one more here. From a different viewpoint, from the access ramp, and then finally further south, or further north, technically on the access ramp.
Joe, any other questions?
I just don't believe that you're not going to see the long row of overhead doors with trucks backed up to them. And I mean, you're taking an angle from the turnpike, as an example, and across the highway, up in the hills, overlooking the area. Those people, when we talked about the development called Minneola Ridge, the Richland property, when we talked about that development, the people who live up in the hills did not want to see roofs in the commercial area, and that's what they're going to see. They're going to look right down on your roofs.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. I don't know the area particularly, specifically that you're talking about, but you mentioned the hospital, 4 stories up. You look out the window, what do you see?
Can't help but see it.
You're going to see the roof. And so, I mean, this property was planned for light industrial, proposed that for a reason. There's no avoiding being able to see that from the other side of the turnpike from a 4-story building. I mean, there's no parapet wall we can build or design that we can come up with that's going to guard against that for a light industrial facility that I'm aware of.
I think it is what it is at this point in time. Yeah, I'm fine with them. Is there questions, concerns? You have any questions, any thoughts?
P&Z looked at this thoroughly and approved it, so. And it is a beautiful building.
Thank you.
I guess I was kind of put at ease when I saw the different shading of it. That was kind of my biggest
Yeah,
picture
I saw
was
that. True.
exactly like one big beige building.
Yeah.
So, as long as there's some contour, then I was fine with the.
There is, and just, I know we're only talking about 2 buildings specifically today, but it was mentioned that this is 2 of a 7-building proposed park, so I don't want to shy away from that, or,
So when you come back with your next set, will that include this piece into there, that this will fit into your?
so I'm hopeful that this is the last time, in front of council for the first 2 buildings. If we get these variances, I think we're in a position where we will resubmit our plans, this week for final review and hopefully approval. We've been through 11 months now of review and comments and resubmittal, and we've had some really good productive conversations the last couple months with staff and planning, and we've been able to make a lot of changes that they were recommending and requesting, such as, just as an example, Turkey Farm Road today is a 20-foot wide dirt road that's not maintained by the county. It is being dedicated or transferred from the county to the city, yet we are going to be the ones to improve it and maintain it and pay for all of it, and it's going to be developed way above city standards. It's not going to be 2 lanes, it's going to be 3, which we don't have to do, but we are, to create a staging area to keep any, backup off of Citrus Farm, so that's all staged on Turkey Farm and onto our site. We're going to reduce the speed limit on it significantly. We're going to add guardrail where there's any sort of additional slopes from that road from a safety standpoint. So we're going way above and beyond like city standards to make sure that the entranceway into this, what will be hopefully a 7-building park, is sufficient for what hopefully will come. And then our neighbors, I believe it's the Founder, I don't know what exactly it's called, but what used to be or is called the Founder's Ridge property. I don't know where exactly they stand in their development process, planning process, zoning, but from what I understand, it's proposed at least to be some sort of mixed-use development with kind of high density, and so I want to make sure we're being good neighbors, having the right buffers in place, so that if that develops in the future, that it's attractive for whoever's going to be there. Like I said, so that's the reason we've orientated the first 2 buildings the way we have, and then the other buildings, the topography pretty much dictates how those have to be orientated, with the truck courts and the drainage all in the back going towards Camp Lake.
And it's kind of doesn't affect you, but it does affect you, because what I see here is something I'm seeing up on the hills, and your project is just going to exacerbate the problem. That, or if they put a Walmart in. Right now, we have a lot of truck traffic parking on Citrus Grove Road. So there's parking, and so what my concern is, not your project, but if you have this, trucks coming in late at night, not getting in, and parking on the side of the road, parking at, if there's a large box store there. But right now, they're parking on Citrus Grove Road. It's not your problem. Can somebody get with the county and see if we can put no parking signs there? So we need to, before this comes in, we need to kind of set precedents that there's no parking on the road, because if this comes in and we don't do it, we probably need to be proactive on that. That's because the lieutenant was here, so I get to say.
Just one quick comment to that. So we don't anticipate actually for our project, we believe that the tenant size and the tenant matrix for this is going to be likely smaller tenants, multi-tenant type buildings, or some sort of like corporate headquarter type building that's got large office, but also needs the warehouse space associated with it. We're not designing these buildings to be large transload distribution facilities like your big cross-dock facilities you see up in Groveland that are, high input, high output. We look at this and we believe it's going to be more of like showroom space for home building products, things like that. I mean, that's what we envision and what we think will be attractive here in Minneola, especially from a price point. I mean, these are not going to be cheap to build. They're not going to be cheap to lease either. It's going to be higher quality tenants than someone that wants a much cheaper rent somewhere further out like Groveland. Yeah. Saying all that to say, we are adding 45 trailer storage spaces, for example, on that building, one of the first buildings. That's not because we think there's necessarily that much day in and day out truck traffic, but it is a place for truckers to park and not park on the road, whether it's Turkey Farm Road, which would then clog and block Turkey Farm Road and access to the rest of the park, or Citrus Grove Road. So it's it's an on-site, you know, planning for us to try to prevent that.
So which one's going to be city furniture? Hey, I'm just saying, we got enough furniture stores around here, and we don't have one out here yet, and it sure looks like one. But it's not a bad-looking, and when you were describing it, I was looking at the city furniture, thinking the building, and it's not a bad-looking building, so. I'm just saying, hey, you saw Millennia, you see him at Winter Garden, but you got every other furniture store here, you might as well have one of those.
Ashley's. Yeah, we can get an Ashley's in here.
So, no, I'm fine with them. I'm good. Just busted on you, it doesn't have to be a city furniture. Just saying.
Circuit City still around?
No, they're not.
Hey, well, any of the tenants that you would like to, you know, introduce us to,
As long as they're got a check that cashes your gift. Yeah, I'm fine with it. To Joe's point, and I guess it is what it is, but, and maybe we missed it in the site plan, the building being flipped though, why is the building showing the docks to the rear? What is the reasoning for that?
For this building specifically, it's to create like an internal park setting. So when those other, we anticipate.
So when you come in, you'll see
the front of the building, and we anticipate the other property there getting developed as well. I mean, I would think and Turkey Farm is going to be a public road, and we would think that those other parcels there at some point are going to be developed. And so
and that's fine.
You want all that to be attractive.
It makes sense that when they come in, they'll just do a loop and see the fronts of all buildings instead of the backs of the building.
For the property next to us, I don't know what they're trying to develop, but if it's townhomes, single-family homes, apartments, whatever it is, you wouldn't want to, I mean, it would significantly devalue that property, in my opinion, for that type of use if there's a truck court backed up to it. And then not having the ability to berm it, shade it, create that,
But on the
separation.
backside, there's a berm between it and the turnpike.
But there's a berm between, and you already got heavy traffic at the turnpike. And so from a noise standpoint, there's not an issue. I understand from a visual standpoint, you want it to still look attractive. And so we're gonna do everything we can to do that with the light industrial use still.
Okay, does that answer your question, Joe? I know you did.
Answer my question?
I know you.
No, I still think it's going to look degrading from the turnpike.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
So with that said, did somebody want to make a motion or have any other comments, or anybody in the audience want to speak on this? We can call you out by name. Ken?
Ken Rose, 720 Arbor Point Avenue, Minneola. This idea of a light industrial set of buildings in Minneola, I'm firmly for something like this. As a light industrial company myself, the issue that we have where we are is there is no room to grow. We're in 1,300 square feet. There are no buildings to go to expand our company, expand our footprint, and provide more jobs. So something like this may hopefully fill that void. However, I do remember 3 years ago we met at, I believe, Lake Minneola High School originally to discuss this type of a project. And the issue that had come up in conversation was the smallest space available was going to be 10,000 square feet, which eliminates most of our small light industrial companies moving into that type of location. So I guess it's more of a question. Are we still going to have a minimum 10,000 square foot tenant, or is it going to be available for our current light industrial companies to grow into that?
I think at this point in time, they have vested rights.
Or is that early?
They have vested rights to do what they want to. It was approved in 2006.
Okay.
To your answer, there's another project coming in on 27, which is a little bit smaller footprint than that.
Okay.
So it's kind of where they are. There's ROI on this, but this is pretty much what they purchased, and they meet the land rights to have this. If they want to build it big, then they can. Should have been there in 2006.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Sorry.
No problem, we'll find a place.
Yeah, but there's one going across the street. Supposedly we're workshopped.
Dave Yeager, 2750 Purple Meadow Court, Del Webb. Obviously, between the last developer and this developer, they're the real deal, and they have the answers to the test, and they didn't come in with all their armor on and to jump us. They came in to make a better product, and I think Joe's not wrong, but these guys seem to know their product, and they seem, they have, I don't think Scorman sells just to sell. I think he sells to find the right product to make the mix work for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. With that said, I'll bring it back to council for a motion, please.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2025-25 Camp Lake Industrial Variance.
Variances.
Is variances.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Okay, 2522, rental registration.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Minneola, Florida, establishing registration and renewal fees for vacation rentals and hosted rentals pursuant to Ordinance 2025-09, providing for an effective date.
Anybody in the audience?
So we're asking council, as part of this ordinance, to determine the rate. We have some sample rates from other cities. Everybody does it a little bit differently. Some just charge an annual fee, some charge a higher annual fee, and then the renewal is lower. Some charge an annual fee plus a certain amount per every bedroom.
What do you recommend? That gets complicated for
Yeah,
every
but-
bedroom.
What is your first choice?
Yeah.
Just go with A.
Mark?
So honestly, Christine, what do you like? Because you're going to be administering it.
Okay.
Good,
Oh, good answer.
good answer.
Yeah.
I would have bet on that one, but that's good. That's the go-to.
Well, it's easier to count by fives than it is by sevens, so you can
Yeah.
always look at it like that.
So what do you think? I don't care.
What do you think, Mark? Ms. Simple?
I'll make a motion to approve whatever Mark wants.
Yeah.
I'll second.
I make them,
All
so
in
what
favor?
what is your range, Mark?
You know, we could match what Orlando does, or we can match what Claremont does.
Well, do we want to be Orlando?
No.
Or is the
Claremont's a
sworn?
little bit more money.
And how enforceable is this going to be?
Well,
As far as I know, it's enforceable.
yeah, I mean, these are fees that our staff incur, and so you're recouping them because they're doing the work to have the registration and to have inspections and.
That's, if they go down that route and chose to do that, and they could just go rogue and be a pop-up B&B.
It's true, but I believe our code enforcement has actually found several that way and have
Okay.
been able to get them to come into compliance.
Okay, so let's start with Claremont. I'm
Yep,
fine.
I agree.
Let's
Agree with
just,
Claremont.
Okay.
so,
So I make a motion to go with Claremont's fee for resolution 2025-22 vacation rental.
Second.
first and a second. Any further discussion? Anybody in the audience? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. For the sake of time, can we go over projects next month?
Yes.
Okay, can I get a motion to table projects till next month?
Oh, yes, I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, with that said, Mark.
You want to list 10 projects?
I'll try to make this brief. We'll be sending out notices via social media soon. We are.
Hold on, Mark, before I catch you, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
Final public comment? Jennifer?
She sat down so quick.
Gotcha.
Ken,
Class
anything?
hasn't been
Anyone?
dismissed yet.
Nathan,
You
Denise?
got to sit here for the full class to get credit. Go ahead, Mark.
We, in the past, in the early years during the Great Recession, we made multiple changes to try to get the cost down for the customer as much as we could as far as online bill pay. At this point, we're growing so much, it's time for us to streamline that service to reduce the amount of time it takes to process payments that are paid online. So we're switching from Arista, who we use now, to Edmunds, which is our finance program. It'll integrate seamlessly in. It'll take several steps off of staff trying to process those payments. And so the credit card fees will be changing. These are for online payments. And the e-check fees will be changing for online payments. Again, we don't receive this money. This is what the vendor charges us. It's not anything that we're getting from that. The flagpole will be installed at the library tomorrow. We're also going to be installing lamps. They're working on that now.
Can I ask the flagpole question?
Sure.
There's a big flagpole at Cameron World Stadium. Can we put the same one out there at the wastewater treatment plant?
We certainly could, and staff talked about changing that telecommunication pole, that concrete pole, and try to convert it to a flagpole. It's going to take a little while to try to figure that if it's possible, so we're just trying to get one.
I would like to get a price on putting at the wastewater treatment plant.
I'll second that.
Yeah, can you discuss that?
Okay.
So, and a backup flag. So the first we don't have to run.
Oh, yeah, backup
So we don't have to order the next one from Europe or something. So we want
Europe.
Okay. City Hall will be closed for Veterans Day. One other thing, a reminder that the irrigation days change. Once the time changes in November, it changed, so we're now to once a week watering. People on odd house numbers will have to water on Saturdays, and people on even house numbers operate on Sundays, and there's a difference for businesses. Now, there's a watering in period for new sod, but we do have a new water conservation officer. She's going to be eventually certified as code enforcement, not that she's going to be doing that function. She's going to be focused on water conservation, but if we have, repeated violations, we're really required to get that resolved, and she'll be able to take the case all the way through the magistrate if need be. I hope that never has to happen. And then also change your smoke detector batteries, and that's all. Thank you.
Anything for City Manager?
No, thank you, sir.
No, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, Mark, where do we stand on the signing of the contract for Trailhead?
So I got the final revisions today around 4:30, and we sent those to the contractor today to review. We had hoped to have them sooner, but there's, they did get them today, though.
So when do we expect to have it signed, 100%?
Provided they don't have any changes, we can sign it immediately, provided they don't have any, the contractor doesn't have any changes they wish to see.
Okay, so we submitted our red lines to them? for
Yes.
final review. Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Saunders?
Nope.
I got nothing, Mark. I did appreciate, it was a nice event this week. Okay, Pam,
City Attorney.
City Attorney?
I have nothing. Thank you.
I have nothing for the city attorney. Welcome, and great to see you.
Thank you
And
all
thank
for
you
your
for your time.
hospitality.
Thank you for coming back.
Oh, do we need to submit our notes?
Yeah, just might want to have them just in case.
Okay.
Did he say no?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, just, it's not how much I weigh.
So we're keeping them until they're.
No, I would just give them to him now, and
Oh, okay.
anything you wrote on, just give it to him. If you wrote anything down up here, just give it to him, so city clerk has it. If they ask for it, you got it.
I'd like a photocopy of mine, so,
Okay, so where we at? You got anything for the attorney?
No.
Anything for the attorney? Pam, anything for tonight?
No, thank you.
Debbie, anything?
Good.
No, thank you.
I'm good.
We'll talk it next week. We'll talk it in 2 weeks. We just need to think about Vice Mayor, that'll be the next one. I guess reassigning for the positions. And next year, I'm doing Leadership Lake.
Yes, I heard.
So I did have marked budget dollars for next year. So if somebody else wants to go through Leadership Lake, I think somebody needs to continue going in. It's very dominant on the north end of the county. So if somebody wants to go through South End, some through here, to do Leadership Lake, then just decide if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I'll be interested in that.
So, it's cool. Just make sure that you can get the time.
Yeah, I need to look at the time.
Yeah, you need to look at time, but, yeah, it was kind of interesting. Once I got on Leadership Lake, then talking to everybody that's kind of like this underground, everybody's on Leadership Lake, or they've done it. Scott did it. Has he sent you yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah, so yeah, think about it, how you, but I just think we need to think, because in the spring, they have to do like, we started in March.
I don't recall.
Yeah, because we had to get you got to get Lowe's recommendation, but just start thinking of it, but I just think it's something, and I know that we budgeted for us to go through, but I think the city clerk going through it would be pretty good too. Look at her.
There is homework involved too.
And the
yeah.
term is, if that's what the council wishes. But it has been very educational so far. But yeah, it's been very eye-opening. And if anybody gets a chance, there's like an amazing Elks Park on the north end of the county somewhere, God knows where, because it took me forever to get there, but it is the most amazing thing I've seen in Lake County. It's off the charts what this place looks like and the facilities at all. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just like, wow.
It is.
Is it Marion? We were wondering, because it said, I crossed over Marion County right there, but who cares? It's beautiful up there. It was close enough to lake, so. But that's it. We had everything. Can I get a motion for adjournment, please?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Nay.
No, you must stay.
Okay. Who gets this? Oh my gosh.
Just give it
Again, you're gonna have a jacket next time. It's getting cold.
Not for him, man. He's that New Englander.
I know.